Good evening, everyone. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm looking for the mic to be turned up a little bit louder. Can you all hear me out there?
Hello out there?
Oh.
They can hear me.
Testing, testing.
Testing.
Yeah,
So contrary to popular demand, nobody wants to hear me tonight, huh? All right, so I'm going to be looking for approval of the minutes of March 22nd regular board meeting, the March 22nd and 28th special board meetings.
Sorry, I'm behind.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any discussion or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining? Thank you. Next, moving down for approval of the April bills totaling $660,540.90, and that is total, correct?
Do any of these bills include things that we're paying out for expenses at the high school that we should be getting reimbursed for?
I had the one question about the Martin Center, that's all reimbursed from
The what?
the Martin Center?
all of those that, if they're rental or have to do with anything off campus or any of the high school expenses, they are probably on there, but we have not been reimbursed for them yet.
Okay.
I was going to talk about this later. I'll talk about it right now.
Well, I'm just curious about reimbursements on these expenses.
We've been reimbursed for Servpro, for their expenditures. The rest of our expenses have not been turned over to the insurance yet. They're on a list and they will be turned over.
So the itemized list that you've told us about before is the one you're talking about that hasn't been turned over
It
yet?
has not been turned over yet.
Okay. And the plan for that? 'Cause
Whenever the
completion.
whenever the insurance lets us know that they are satisfied with the job and it's complete, then it will be turned over.
So does that itemized list include personal things from some of our students that they're still waiting on? For instance, cameras or things like that, that seniors might be needing for senior projects and things like that for college scholarships?
I would have to check with the high school and see if that list has been turned in. I
I would
don't
like to know,
that.
because if we have students' things on that list, and this is hindering potentially their next step, we need to be on top of it and getting them their money or their equipment.
We as a district probably need to cover those costs in the interim.
Whatever we need to do.
And so we'll look at those as they come out.
Thank you.
So, any more questions on the April bills?
No, that was the only one I had marked.
I'm looking for a motion then of acceptance.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second, sorry, I thought we'd already done that.
I want to give any further questions.
I don't. I think we just need to be really focused on that insurance reimbursement so that we don't get behind the eight ball there.
All right, all those in favor of the bills totaling $660,540.90, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you. Approval of the monthly finance reports, which are, of course, in your packet.
I know I comment on these every month, but these numbers continue to look very good on this report. I think the closing balance, you're up 2 million from a year ago. Your DESI payment's up. I think these numbers look really good.
Our budget is looking pretty good right now, so
We hope so,
hopefully
yeah.
that holds. We're going to be looking and talking about a lot of numbers tonight, so.
Thanks.
It'll be okay, Harry. There's medication for you later. I move that we accept.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you. Next, we're going to look at some program reviews, of course. The Parents and Teachers Program Review, and accepting that report is written.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll move to accept it. It's always just incredibly impressive.
Yep.
So much goes on with that team.
I'm just going to note that in the report, the parent-teacher screenings were May 24th through 26th, so call Spain Howard to schedule those, please.
I was surprised at the budget. I would have expected it to be a little bit more, I think. I mean, they touch a lot of really, they touch kids, so of course it's important, but I was, and I like to look at numbers always, but I'm really impressed with the work that they can do for that little bit of money.
I'm still,
And the great team they have for that little bit of money. I think it's great.
I like some of their programs too that they work on.
I still need a second for
Oh, second,
acceptance.
sorry.
Thank you. All those in favor of accepting the Parents and Teachers Program Review?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining? Thank you. Next, we have the Guidance and Counseling Program Review.
I'll move to accept.
I'll second.
Also commendable work. You know,
Trying to get through 30 pages of another report.
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. Speaking of, yeah, all the effects that, so we've got them on the one end and we got them on the other end, right?
Yeah.
This, seeing the full development, it's really impressive. Do we have a second?
I can see some beaming smiles from the,
Oh, yeah.
from the team out there,
Yeah.
so. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any
Laura,
opposed or abstaining?
You weren't lying.
Thank you. Next, we have the District-Wide Assessment Program Review.
Well, I'm not a reader. There's no denying it. And I just want you to know that this was, what, 40 pages? Yeah. 40 pages.
With charts though, there was some.
Fantastic work.
Yes.
This is fantastic work.
Fantastic.
That's that. I'll move that we accept.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Also, kindergarten screenings will be May 18th and 19th at Spain Howard. So I took a few
Okay, I can
notes
put this
to
away quick.
throw out some dates. Next, we need to move to adopt the regular agenda as printed. I have no additions.
Okay, let's double check.
Okay.
See, no problem. I'll move so.
Second.
Okay. Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining? Thank you. Next, we need to certify the April 5th, 2022 election results. Just want to make a footnote on that. On some of the ballot language that you saw, it said that it was a 2-year position and 2 people running for a 3-year position. That should have been specified as a 1-year position. We've talked with our legal counsel, with the circuit clerk, the circuit court, and a few other entities, MSBA as well as Mr. Lenz, who will be up for that seat. I just increased your credentials, Mr. Lenz, tonight. And everyone is understanding that that is for a 1-year term, and we will be swearing him in for a 1-year term. So, need a motion to accept those?
To certify the election results?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, as you've laid out, yeah, the 2, 3-year terms and the 1-1-year term,
Yes.
yeah.
And that would be for the, as she was saying, the 2 3-year terms, which Mr. Shepherd and Mr. Carroll.
I've got my name already.
And then next year,
I was pointing at Ed.
Then next
And
year
then
there'll be
next
3
year, there
seats.
will be 3 seats that will be up, of course, for that, and Mr. Lenz, who won the 1-year seat as well, so. So all those in, was there a second? I need a second for
second.
that. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? I will now turn it over to Dr. Mayor for reorganizing of the board.
Yeah, we got to swear.
Linda
Excuse me, we
Perkins
need to,
will
swear in.
we need to have the board secretary swear in Mr. Lenz. So, Jack, as he's asked me to call him multiple times, please come up front, please.
Scott in front of her yesterday.
You want me to do what?
You gotta be sworn in.
Oh, I gotta be sworn in?
Sworn in, sorry.
I've been sworn at quite a bit this week.
No Bible.
And the night's still young, Harry.
You're already.
Do you swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Missouri, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of school director in for the school district of Marshall, County of Saline, State of Missouri, to the best of your ability according to law?
I do.
I just need you all to sign this paper, and I'll give it to me later.
Welcome, Jeff.
You know what, Jack? We've got 168 years of wisdom.
Now I will turn it over to Dr. Mayer for the reorganizing of the board as Mr. Lenz makes himself comfortable down there.
Whoops.
Thank you, and I will now open the floor for nominations for President of the Marshall Public Schools Board of Education.
I'll nominate Brian Jakes.
Second.
Mr. Jakes has been nominated in second. Is there discussion? All in favor of Mr. Jakes as a president for the 22-23 school year? No, as the remainder of the 22 through 23. School year, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I will turn it over to you, Mr. President.
So in continuing the talking I get to do tonight, and it sounds like you'll hear my voice a lot more, so looking for nominations for the office of vice president.
I nominate Matt Smith.
I'll second.
As there are no other nominations, then I will ask for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you. Next, we will be moving to the election of the treasurer. This office is vacant, of course, as every other one. Mr. Harper has served in this role for the last few years, so I am looking for nominations for the position of treasurer.
Can I ask exactly what that role is?
Good thing.
You do not have to write any checks in the role of treasurer as of being the secretary, or the treasurer of the Board of Education. So I would nominate Dr. Meyer, if she'd be interested in that position.
I'll second if she'll accept.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Are there any other nominations for the office of treasurer? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you. Next, we will move to the election of secretary.
Open canvas.
Fine. I don't, it's fine.
I would like to nominate that Ms. Linda Perkins remains as secretary of the board.
Please.
Oh,
30? Over 30?
She there? We got
She
her?
said- Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
She said something about over 30 and I lost her.
All those in favor of,
Second.
Oh, I'll second.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so it sounds like the seconds were unanimous. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you for your decades of work with multiple boards in that position and remaining in that position. I don't think anybody wants to have to take those minutes or collect those minutes as.
Or put
Thank
up
you.
with
She's
us.
really good at it.
Next, we need to appoint an MSBA alternate and delegate as well.
Ellen, aren't you the current delegate?
I get all the emails. Brian goes and attends most of the time, but I would be happy to do that, yes.
I would nominate Ellen
Oh,
to
boy.
be the MSBA delegate.
Yeah, Ellen, if you're,
I'm fine with that. Happy to communicate.
Mr. Carroll, would you be interested in being the alternate for the
I
MSBA
am now, I'll be
delegate?
glad to.
All right.
It's easy with the other people.
Our reorganization seems to be kind of a continuance.
Do you need me to redo my motion to include them both as that?
no, that's
or-
just an appointment. That one
Okay,
was-
okay.
Mhm.
They consent, they did it.
Now that we've reorganized the board, I'm going to move down to public comments. And Mr. Post, if you are here, would you please come and speak with us about the baton twirling?
You got your timer? There's your time.
Got it.
Use the microphone, that way they can hear you out in public.
They can hear you online.
Okay,
It's on you.
is it on? Okay, thank you very much. So I know that I don't look like a baton twirler because I'm not. I'm here representing my daughter. She is currently performing with the middle school band. So I'm wearing her signature color and hope to speak well on her behalf. So I am here to represent not just my daughter, but all baton twirlers in the Marshall School District who want to be treated equally in participation with the marching band. As recently as 2015, when my older daughter was in school, twirlers were allowed to participate as full members, performing and competing in all band activities. Now my younger daughter, Ella, has been told she cannot compete with the band, even though other auxiliaries, namely flag twirlers, are allowed to compete with the band at band day events. Initially, we were told by Marshall staff that the reason for this is that baton twirlers are not scored at competitions. We were told that she could twirl at home games and in parades, but she would have to be a member of the band, learn an instrument, and at competitions march with her instrument rather than a baton. Ella has fulfilled her end of the obligation. She took up clarinet. She convinced her twin brother to take up the trumpet. Those were instruments that we were told were needed by the band. Subsequently to that, we have learned that this is not the case, however. We've been told by a dozen different contest organizers that baton is allowed at band competitions, that they are scored as auxiliary, the same as the flag twirlers who go. And this is Carrollton, Macon, Smith Cotton, all the schools around us who host band days tell us that the baton is more than welcome and that they would be scored with the auxiliary. Next, we were told that the district didn't have anyone who could add twirlers to the marching routine, that the routine would be set and there would not be anybody with the expertise to do this. Fortunately for us, Amanda's coach is her sister, who is here in attendance. She is also the UCM baton coordinator. She coordinates the marching routine for the UCM Marching Mules. That's a D2 NCAA school. All right, and so that's an opportunity for our twirlers here in Marshall to learn from and work with a Division II college twirler who's taken it to the next level and done that. Now, when we offered that service, we were told that Amanda could not work with the students because she's an outsider. That's a strange concept to us because she is an MHS alumna and a registered substitute who has worked with students in the classroom this academic year. All right, so I don't know how much more in you have to be to not be an outsider, but it feels like she should be there. Next, let's see. District officials also told us that they didn't want to make a special exception for one student. We were asking specifically for my daughter, but there are other twirlers in the district, and we want this opportunity for anyone who wants to twirl. It's not just for our daughter, but for all twirlers. The idea that twirling is a dying art. Sometimes you hear that, oh, nobody twirls anymore, it's a dying art. That is not true. That is a misconception. Some of you may have seen America's Got Talent last season, the 16. Joel Claudio, a twirler, was there, twirled baton on America's Got Talent. There are 3 twirlers at Beaker Middle School right now who auditioned for the talent show this spring. All right, so it's not just Ella. Let's see. There are thousands of twirlers across the country that compete every weekend. Ella won earlier in March. She is now the Miss Majorette of Missouri, age 13 to 15. She will go to Notre Dame this summer to represent the state of Missouri in the national championships. Now, aside from the competitions, there are 2 twirling groups here in Marshall, one run by my daughter, one run by Robin Christie. That's been around a lot longer. Between the 2 of them, there are 31 twirlers currently in Marshall. They range in age from kindergarten up through middle school. So this would be a continuing group of young people who would come into the twirling program. Twirling is popular in Marshall. The Marshall Featurettes Twirling Group took first place in the 2021 Marshall Christmas Parade. They beat every other entry in the parade. So, in short, I am asking the board to live up to the commitments it made in adopting the district's strategic plan. The mission statement included there reads, "We educate and empower every student, every chance, every day." We feel that twirlers should have the same chance to compete as other band auxiliary members. Goal 1 of the strategic plan calls for Marshall Public Schools to maintain safe and supportive environment that contributes to the confidence of all students. Restoring twirling to the band program will help accomplish this goal. Goal 3 says the Marshall Public Schools will encourage the involvement of all students, families, school employees, and taxpayers. Allowing twirlers to compete will allow for greater student involvement, and taxpayers of the district have told us that they want this. We put an online poll up. It's almost up to 300 signatures right now. It's less than a week. We're up to 300. I've made some posts on Facebook, almost unanimous support for twirlers coming back. I've heard from twirlers from the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, all say we love twirling. We want to see it come back to Marshall High School. All right, goal 4 says Marshall schools will be fiscally responsible, probably physically responsible too, but fiscally responsible with taxpayer money. Adding twirlers costs nothing. We already have a band program, it's already there. Amanda has volunteered her time for free. There's zero cost involved to the district. If you say yes, we can have twirlers next season, ready to go at no cost. It is a free program that the public likes. You don't get much better than that.
Thank you for your comments tonight, Mr. Post, and I just want you to know I allowed you to go a little bit longer and finish, and the board will be discussing this later on, and you will surely hear something from the district at some level, so thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Good job.
Are there any other comments at this time in the public comment section? Hearing none and seeing none, I will move over to the reports. First of all, with Assistant Superintendent Dr. Terry Lorenz.
Just have a few updates. There'll be some more bids later in the program. We took delivery of 4 of the 5 new buses that we have scheduled in. The 5th one should be in next week. We're in the process of getting those licensed and ready to roll. We had trouble with the maintenance truck, one of our older maintenance trucks, in pretty bad shape, and it's going to need a complete overhaul, so we took it out of rotation. We continue to look for good used. We may be forced to move to what we did several years ago when we bought that red truck. We may have to move that way. We're looking every direction we can to find a good used 4-wheel drive truck, so if anyone has one out there, we're open to suggestions.
Does it have to be full-size?
Has to be 4-wheel drive.
4-wheel drive is the main thing because of the snow plows. All of our trucks push a snow plow, so we've got a reprieve. It made it through this snow plow season, but by the time snow flies next year, we'll need one more truck back in rotation, so. Just an update, the sod and irrigation on the soccer field, the replacement of the sod is in process. The ground's been worked and leveled right before the rain came, so we should be seeing quite a bit of progress on that very soon as the weather breaks for us. We also got the 2 floor scrubbers we talked about a month or 2 ago. They came in a little earlier than we expected, and those 2 scrubbers, one in this building and one at the high school. A little problem with one of them, but the manufacturer's coming in to take care of it for us, so they're in and operational. So. And that's all the updates I have, unless anyone has any questions.
You're going to walk us through some of these bids later then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lorenz. We'll move down to Superintendent Dr. Mayer. And of course, Mr. Paprick and Ms. Johnson, it seems, will be joining you at some point.
Thank you. Yes, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jim Paprick, Ms. Tanya Johnson, and Ms. Tammy Coslett as representatives of the MPS employees.
I think it's working now.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, hey, thanks, Dr. Mayer, and hey, it's very good to see all of you again. And as always, thank you for using some of your time and energy to try to provide the best education possible for students in our district, and I think that's going to be difficult. With a nationwide teacher shortage, you've all read about it, and it's no different here. You've looked at the numbers. Everybody got the the numbers a week or so ago. The CTA encourages you to fund, whatever you feel is fiscally responsible. Whatever it is still not going to be enough to keep up with inflation even. It was 8.5% year over year for the 12 months ending in March. But, anything, I guess at the end of the day, you've got to say, did we do everything that we could to put the highest quality teacher in front of every student here in our district? I don't know if anybody had any questions on the numbers or anything, or if you ladies want to make a comment or anything.
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Mayer, because I asked if I could speak to her this week. Sorry, I thought I was allowed. And she answered me within 10 minutes, and within 20 minutes, she was at my building, in my room, having a discussion with me. And I was so impressed, and it was like we were at home having coffee. So I just want you to know how comfortable that made me in representing our classified staff, because she answered every question that I had and some other ones, and so I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate you all.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so like I said, I know you guys aren't voting on this until later. That band concert Mr. Post was talking about, I got to go to that too, and my kids are in it. So somebody text me and let me know how this turns out. But thank you for your time.
So do we have information on the insurance?
Yeah, it's,
It's
CTA
on
will
this.
represent that
Oh,
down the
okay.
agenda map.
It's on
Yeah,
the sheet,
it's-
92,000.
yeah. Those figures in the Word document that Dr. Mayer sent about a week ago it includes everything, insurance,
This one here.
classified staff, extra
Eric.
duty increases,
Gonna need one more.
everything.
Colored one.
Know what it looks like. That would be, this,
Here. Oh, he's got it. Do you need it, Jack? or
Jack
the-
needs it, he doesn't
Okay.
have one. Well, that was a suck.
No questions for the CTA or the classified staff? Okay, thank you. And we will hear from the CTA in a little bit about insurance. Okay, great. Well, I hope this is, you may have to help me here, Wesley. Is it turned on? Does it need to be turned on? Thank you. As I told you last month, I would report each month on the current status of our employee resignations and retirements. As you can see there, we are up to 36 employees who are going to be leaving our district this year, and I hope that's close to being it. We'll have to see the next couple months. I wanted to report a little bit on the Marshall High School air quality test. I did have some concerns over some of our staff members who had turned in claims to workers' comp, and I contacted our insurance company. They quickly jumped on that. They have been very good to work with. They requested an environmental engineer company. They began to a second air quality, the air quality test that had been completed after the cleaning efforts of ServPro came back with negative results. They did request a second one to cover all the areas and the contents. The second results were also negative, summarized that the air quality did meet the OSHA standards and that all the levels were below the permissible ones for a safe workplace. One tape sample came back from room 7 with a bit of soot on it. So therefore, after we did clean again in the weekend of the 9th and the 10th, and after the second test came back, we did clean that one room in room 7. They cleaned deeply last weekend. The repair work on the floors, walls, ceilings will be done this summer, as Dr. Lorenz stated. I wanted to talk a little bit, extend the conversation about salaries and benefits considerations. Here are some base salary comparisons. The top one is Marshall with the 3 options that I gave to the board for a base salary. The blue areas or the green areas are the ones that have been set and adopted by boards for next year. The white cells are the current salaries for those districts, and this is the teacher base salary. So you can see it ranges from $34,000 up to $41,000. I would like to say if the governor's recommendation for a minimum base salary be placed at $38,000, that will make difference for districts like Marshall. If we have a statutory salary base at 38, then we have to remain competitive, and that will impact that. I wanted to project what I think the revenues will be because our expenditures, of course, depend on what our revenues are. I think that the economy will stay strong for the next year. I believe that the sales tax will remain about the same. This is from everyone that I can talk to, everyone in school finance, on the national level, on the state level. However, I do have to say, I cannot tell the future. This is what I think. DESE will use the WADA means a weighted average daily attendance. So they will use those numbers. Of course, schools are paid on their attendance, and they will use the numbers from the past 3 years, the best number from the past 3 years, to make payments. So thankfully, we will not be judged on, or we will not be paid according to the numbers that were so affected by the pandemic. The relief funding will continue for ESSER projects. That's substantial for Marshall. It's been very helpful for lots of schools. Our money is almost totally going to facility upgrade and repair, and our after-school programs and our recovery programs. The local revenue from taxes is uncertain, but it will not be less than our current level. The amount is dependent on how much the district's value increases. So, as you know, our taxes were impacted last year by the Hancock Amendment. This amendment safeguards districts from a huge windfall. Unfortunately, actually, it keeps the taxpayers from having to pay above what would be the revenue neutral mark. The revenue neutral mark is set at no greater than what the consumer price index is. So if the consumer price index is at 12%, then our revenue can increase by 12%. It is when Marshall's valuation is increased, then above that, it causes our tax levy to decrease. And if you'll remember, our tax levy last year was $2.83 per 100.
That was adjusted by the...
That was adjusted by that was adjusted by the state auditor and voted by the board, yes. Taxes will bring in the same amount, at least, that they did last year. I think that if our assessed valuation, since it was a one-time happening, that our evaluation increased so much in 1 year. I think eventually we will catch up to where we would have been without the limits put on us. That will take some time. But eventually I feel that we will continue to grow and our community will continue to increase in value. Of course, that all depends on the state of the economy. And I cannot tell you what that will be. I feel optimistic about it. Here are the local tax revenues. These are the revenues that were projected at the tax levy hearings. As you can see, last year we did project that $5,902,622 would be received in local taxes. We have collected 98% of that so far. So, and as you can see, every year our valuation has increased. I don't see reasoning for that not to happen. I've been asked about what the future of the district's budget will look like and what I think it can support. I think it will remain, I think school finance will remain in, as Ellen said, in good hands, in good shape for the next 2 years probably. But that is mostly based on the cushion that relief funds provide from the federal government. Right now, our district fund balance is 47%. I never thought I'd be able to say that ever, but that is in the middle of the year.
And we got Esther in there, don't we?
We have lots of federal money, yes. This is before a transfer takes place from the fund balance into the capital projects fund balance. I think our fund balance will be between 22 and 25% this year, which is actually good for Marshall. I do believe that 47% will, of course, be cut down by the expenditures for the rest of the year and the big expenditure of 3 months' salary that we make in June. So the most expensive line in any budget, any school budget, of course, is salaries and benefits. And as I suggest, the board, with the incoming superintendent, should identify a point where they want the fund balance to stay and where projected revenues and expenditures will support that fund balance. So the future of the budget, in my mind, is I think it is, I am optimistic that our local tax revenue will continue to increase as our community increases its valuation. I think that sales tax, state funding, and other revenue sources should remain stable unless the economy takes a downturn. I believe that the board should build future budgets, including salaries, based on the optimism or the pessimism in which the economy is viewed. That is your biggest guide. And as I said before, if the governor's plan is to raise the minimum pay to $38,000, our base must be competitive, and I said probably at $40,000, but that's really not my decision. And I cannot say or even guess what the next 3 to 5 years will bring. But those are my thoughts for the budget for the next 2 years. Here then are 3 increase scenarios for the 22-23 school year. As you can see, the numbers are there in a column under the $40,000 base, the $39,000 base, and the $38,000 base, and you can see the increases there for each line. We do have an insurance cost that is set, that will stay the same. The rest of them, excuse me, are based on, and I think I can remember this correctly, the $40,000 base would be a 7.4% raise. The 39,000 would be a 5.2% raise, and the 38,000 base would be a 2.7% raise. I think those are the correct numbers. They're close.
2.98.
Okay, yeah, 2.98. Okay, thank you. You can see then at the bottom the totals for what each one would cost. I have some options that I will go over in a slide in a few minutes that could change those pictures, but for right now, just the way that, and thank you, Mr. Paprick. He always, I look really smart. It's actually Jim Paprick that does it. I just pretend to be smart. Actually, thank you, Jim, for helping me out every year with this. And those are the numbers that we did come up with. Whoops. The classified staff did have some requests that they had sent to me. They would like to raise the payout for unused sick days. That is at $20 right now for every day that is not used for a sick day in the district. Pays $20. There's a lot of arguments there, back and forth, and we can discuss those when we think about the classified staff's schedule. They suggest pay increases for nurses, PAT, and technology, and they suggest early resignation notice pay for classified staff as the certified staff receives. The teachers, I believe it's March 1st, February 1st for $1,500 pay for early notice and $1,000 by March 1st. I think those are the dates. The classified staff salary schedule may be revised after we look at it this evening. If you vote to approve it, it may be revised for some positions. For example, if there are pay increases to some positions or all positions or however that looks. But I need to know what the classified do before I look at I need to know what the certificated staff does before I can really look at the classified staff. Unless we want to increase it the way that Jim did, 7.4%, those percentages that I gave you. That's how those were figured.
What's the difference then between the CTA's request for just a straight base, we're talking about right on the teacher's salary, and the percentages that we're talking
No.
now? Because CTA's,
There's no difference in there.
no, it's just on this one here from the CTA report, and the CTA says salary only adding to the base, not giving percentages across the board. Can somebody answer me the question on that? I can ask
If you
Mr.
add to the
Patrick.
base,
Huh?
and CTA can surely talk, you can feel free to talk. If you add to the base, that number trickles all the way through the salary
Yeah,
schedule.
automatically, that's why I didn't understand the second part of this sentence.
The wording in their report
We
is,
thought it was just the base pay and
Okay.
so that's
Oh,
what the
okay.
CTA was thinking that,
Yeah, all right, so,
and that's what they were.
yeah, it looked like a contradiction, so.
All right, can somebody say that all, can somebody summarize that? Because I got lost.
so the CTA is aware that it would trickle.
Yes.
It's not just adding to the
It's not
base as
just-
the
It
report.
it confused me, like if I'm on the salary schedule for the masters plus 50-some hours, and then with the base goes, mine goes up too, but I thought they were wanting something else, the way they worded it. so.
Yeah.
So that does bring on question then, if we're moving the base up, I understand that if you're base plus 15, you move up, but your 15 really gives you just the base increase and nothing else. So am I right in that understanding? Like, if I'm giving a first-year teacher 40, then I've got a teacher that's 40 plus their 15, and that's all the raise they get, right? Is
No,
the difference in the
no,
base?
no. Well, not the way it used to be, I don't know.
But that's what
now.
this
Yeah.
says to me, so
The
I'm asking.
percentage would be the same
The
across the board.
percentage, you could take each cell in that current one, multiply it by the percentage, and then add that percentage onto the cell. Because the base would increase and Jim,
Yeah, I think I can summarize that, like say you went with the proposal that added $3,000 to the base, every cell on the schedule gets $3,000.
Right.
That percent that the increase in, what that does is it increases the total expenditure on compensation.
Was that,
So
and
it's-
did
it
you
would
have
be
that built in here with the
7.4.
bottom numbers already, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the scare.
What we've done traditionally then is whatever the increase in the total compensation cost is for certified, that you're giving an equivalent percentage increase to the classified schedule. And how that's distributed is a conversation that, everybody
Yeah.
can have.
So basically, to make this very layman's for everyone, from what I understand, if we go with the base of 40,000, which is the 7.4 raise, then the classified staff would also get the 7.4 raise as well, distributed through their cells and their payment grid, correct?
Yes, and
Okay,
it's not like
that's
every
what-
person gets a 7.4% raise.
Right.
New people are going to get a higher percentage.
Okay.
That's how
And
it
if I
was.
can ask you all just a couple of more questions for clarification. So this is the first I have seen about these particular categories raising as well. So are there suggestions of that? Because that is going to also skew the classified salary amounts, because you're going to be adding a base pay and then you're going to be adding a percentage on top of that. So are there been numbers submitted to that as well?
There's not a percentage added on top of that. Like literally, for the certified schedule, every cell will get $3,000. That 7.4% is simply the total increase in what that would cost the district
Yeah. So the 7.4% is truly
Okay.
just the total cost number.
It's a,
So
Okay.
again, I'm going to go back to you, Dr. Mayor, and I know you're going to say I can't see the rainbows and the unicorns, but I need to understand from somebody that's running this budget, can the district sustain a $1.2 million raise on their salary line?
Can I go through a few more slides and then?
Absolutely.
And if for some reason I forget,
Absolutely.
ask
I'm
me
just-
again. Okay.
I don't
yeah,
work here. I need to know
yeah, Okay.
because I want to.
Here are some options that
Right?
I know that boards and of all organizations want different ways to look at things. So here are some options if the board does not necessarily want to adopt a $3,000 across-the-board 7.4 rate, or any of the other ones. The extra duty schedule could be reorganized so it is not tied to the teacher's schedule. The extra duty committee sets a percentage and sets a amount for each position in the extra duty schedule. We could rearrange that, or we could recalculate it, or we could reorganize it. That would take a lot of work, but we could. The administrators' pay raises could be calculated as separate from teachers' raises. For example, if the teachers get an average of 7.4%, then the administrators may get a flat $1,500 raise, or a flat 4% raise, or the administrators would not be tied to the teachers. That's also an option. The district could cap employee insurance payments. We've talked about that for many years. That's always an option. Also then, a fixed raise for all employees could be approved so that an equal number is entered into each salary sale.
That would fool me.
Jim, can you,
I didn't follow that one at all, Jim.
Right.
I'm not sure. A fixed raise, that means, okay, so like a custodian would get the same $3,000 raise that a.
well, we would have to look at the sales, say for the classified staff. And we
Well,
would
that's
say
classified.
everyone in the classified staff is getting a $10,000 raise. I just said something crazy because I don't want people to say, you said,
You got everybody's attention with that.
and every person gets that amount of raise. Right?
Just in the classified, are you just talking?
No, everyone.
No.
Fixed rates for all employees
So
to be
this is
approved,
just-
so an equal number is entered into each salary cell. So everybody would get the same $1. If we're giving a $1 raise, everybody would get the $1 across the board. From A
Everyone
to Z
who,
employee.
well, everyone who is a certificate, who is a teacher, gets the same raise. Everybody who's a classified gets the same raise. Everybody who has an extra duty gets the same raise.
The same amount? Or
Yes, the same
So
amount
if
in
we're
there.
giving a $1 raise across the board, A to Z employee, then everybody gets the same dollar.
Why can't it be?
Is that
And
what
that
you're
may
that's
not
what
make
you're saying in
sense
that
to
statement?
everyone. Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
And that
I'm
may
just
not
making
make
sure.
sense to everyone.
So
That-
if we're giving a $1 raise across the board, that means employee A to employee Z, everybody gets the same $1.
That's the option being proposed.
That's, yes, okay, I'm just making sure I understand how that would work.
Okay, but I want to make sure that teachers and classified and extra duty, those are separate. In my mind, those are separate.
Yeah, mine too, but it looks like with everything we're getting here, they're all getting lumped together, so I'm.
Okay, well, and
Just throwing
options
them as
are, you
options.
can lump them together.
Yeah.
Or not. They're both options.
All right.
We could also use an overlay to separate short-term from long-term employment and vice versa. We did that about 4 or 5 years ago when we tried to equal the steps in our schedule. I really have nothing to say about an overlay, but there are some districts that are using them now. There are also other options that we can look at if you are fearful or are concerned about the salary schedule numbers set in front of you. So the question is then, Do I think that the district's budget can support a $1.2 million raise in salaries? Next year and the next year, yes. Beyond that, I have no idea. Now, the problem is, if you put that raise in this year, and another option is, you could say, we're going to raise the base to 40,000, and we're going to leave the schedules as they are for 2 years. You could do that, too. The problem, of course, is that once you put numbers in the salary schedule, you're not going to take them back out again.
There forever.
They're there forever, and they will grow forever. So, yes.
We have 36 openings, and we've got to recruit teachers.
We do. We have 36 opening. And honestly, if the amount of the work week, that is a teacher recruitment tool. The base is a teacher recruitment tool, so I think we're going to look at all the things. So I feel optimistic about the $40,000 base. I would love to be able to say that. I cannot tell you that in 3 years, it won't be that we are going to kind of cut back on things. Do I think the district will go bankrupt? No. But there could be larger classes, or there could be programs that might be cut.
I went through a riff at this school district once, and I don't ever want to see it again. That was
Mr. Paprick,
terrible.
do you want to say anything along those lines?
Well, I mean, I think you got, like Carol said, you got a pretty good head start on probably, many years worth of maintenance projects. As their funds, usually every year you got to budget a certain amount for maintenance. And it's not that you don't have to do that, but you've got a pretty good, with the millions of dollars in ESSER funding, you're going to have a really good head start. So I think like Dr. Baker said, nobody, I don't think any one of us here is going to say, what's going to happen 3 or 5 years from now. But I agree with her that we can definitely afford it now and for the next several years. Beyond that, I don't think any of us want to make predictions.
Do you feel the same way about option 1 and 2 as well? The 5.3 and the 2.28, whatever, I mean, is it the same scenario really? This year, next year?
Well,
We don't know.
since
It would
it's
be more.
less money,
Yeah,
it would
go farther.
It would be easier to fit into the budget.
Sure.
But there is a huge teacher shortage, and districts around us are losing from a third to a half of their faculty, and all of those teachers, all of those jobs are going to be competing for a limited number of teachers. And that's just the law of supply and demand.
We need to get our teacher salary as high as we possibly can at this point in time.
Agreed. When you said that the federal funds will continue, you mean what we've gotten and been promised, that's what we'll have, correct?
Correct.
So is there a list of what we've spent and then what we have left, like how much we have left to use?
Yes.
Would you care to share that with the board at another time?
Okay?
And the reason I ask is just so that we know what projects we've done. We also can compare that to what Dr. T has given us last month and what we need to look for.
Right.
So we have an idea of how much money we have to use for that. I think that, and I'll just say this out loud and I'll be honest, I think $40,000 for someone that's teaching my child is significantly inconsiderate and degrading. And I think anything less than that is just embarrassing. And so we have to figure out as a district how we can make this a great place to be so that people can make enough money to pay their bills.
Well said.
I also want to add that because fully funding insurance is a benefit is also a plus in that too. And we are somewhere around $670, I believe, now on insurance monthly. Is that correct?
57 would be what it goes to next year.
$657, excuse me. $20 off, so $657 a month per employee. So that is another $7,000 on top of that. I just want to make sure everyone thinks about, because sometimes people look at that one number, so. So I think you've given us plenty to think about there. Is there more to your report as we go on before we actually look down to looking at these numbers?
There is a little bit more.
I figured there would be.
You know, I
we'll let
muddied your
this-
mind. I'm not going to stop until I completely muddy it. We have a policy that defines how we use our district signage, particularly at sporting events. That policy is pretty well written out as to how that should look, what's appropriate. There has been an issue, however, that is not covered by a policy, and that is of a single business buying and advertising exclusively on a district sign, usually at sports facilities. If the board wants to avoid the appearance of favoritism, there is a need to set guidelines for future administrators. We would then be able to define and go to policy and figure out what is appropriate. So next month, I would like to bring a policy to the board, and whether you adopt it or whether you don't is up to you. But I would like to bring a policy that explains that and that is worded so the district will know which way we want to go.
I think that's a great idea.
Can you make sure you send that to us in about the first part of May so that we can review?
Yes,
give
I will.
feedback, and then have a good polished policy for us to look at for adoption, please?
I have sent a message to Msba with that in mind, and as soon as I get back their corrected or completed or polished version, I will send that to you.
Thank you.
Work, Brian.
And the last thing we're doing is celebrating the class of 2020. So on May 20th is the senior send-off. May 22nd is graduation, 2 p.m. And it's going to be a beautiful, sunny, 80-degree day. And May 27th is the last day of school. And that will do it for our 21-22 school year. Are there any questions for me?
Give it here.
Throw it against the wall.
Well, something, how about you just?
You're
yeah.
going to need it, Jack, honest.
All right, so thank you for that. Some other senior highlights that I wrote down as well were 5/11 is going to be Achievement Night at 6 p.m. at MHS. May 15th is going to be Baccalaureate at First Baptist at 4 p.m.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Students arrive at
When is
3:30.
that?
May 15th.
Okay, thanks.
May 18th is going to be Senior Sunset at 6:30 by the Career Center. And the 20th of May will be the Senior Parade, where students will meet at the parking lot at 4:30, and it will start at 5:30, which is becoming a new tradition here, so. And the Pop Assembly is going to be May 26th
I have that.
at 7 p.m. So, a few more dates I was going to throw
A
out
lot
there.
of dates,
so.
holy cow. A lot of tears
I'd
in
love
there,
to be
Brian.
celebrating students a little bit more sometimes than we celebrate business. So I'm also have a list of our Educators of the Year by building that I've brought in to talk about tonight real quick as well. So at MHS, we had Mrs. Franklin. At the Career Center, we had Ms. Henley. BMS was Ms. Hale. Northwest was Mr. Artie Jacoby. Benton, we have Mrs. Bass. Eastwood, we have Mrs. Hughes. Southeast, we have Ms. Rudgen. Spainhauer, Ms. Tracy, and our district representative that we sent to DESE was Ms. Bass, who represents Benton. So sometimes I want to make sure we celebrate our adults as well as our students while we're talking about the business we've got going on here. So thank you, Dr. Mayor, for your report. And moving along, we will go to the additional program reports. I pulled some of that information out of some of those reports. So CTA, Professional Development, Special Services Director, Director of Teaching and Learning, and as always, Mr. Jacoby, you gave me quite a good read as well, so I appreciate it.
All 40 pages.
That one was 15.
Well, yeah, that was a little shorter. All 55 pages this month that you gave us.
She's still over.
But I appreciate the thoroughness of all the reports, looking at where we're going as far as PDC, the conferences, and the things that we've learned and brought back to the district to share with our adults that trickle down to our students, our principals, reports that aren't going to be talked about tonight before we get to Ms. Alberson for her report as well, looking at some of the great things that we have going on. I'm a little intrigued about the Golden Spatula. that I saw going on back there, so I might ask a little bit more about that so later on, so, but, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about those reports that I rattled off? No? All right. Moving along to our principal's report, Ms. Alberson. Oh.
Hi, I just want to thank you guys for allowing us the opportunity to come and share a little bit about our building. It's very special to us. We absolutely love all the people that we work with and all the kids that get to come, so it means a lot that we have the opportunity to share some of these things with you. Nope, more? Okay, I'm not the loudest, so I apologize. We did try to lighten your load a little bit in terms of the report. Ours is a lot of pictures, not a lot of reading, so I hope that helps. Okay. Sorry. Oh, he's got the clicker. Here we go.
We finally got one of those.
Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate that so much.
Okay, so the first thing that we wanted to talk about, since we are a primary building with early childhood through first grade, we have a big focus on literacy. So one of the things that we're doing as we kind of shift that instruction from years prior is we focus a lot on Scarborough's reading rope, and this has a lot to do with brain development and how students learn to read. So in the top 5, you see the language comprehension. So those pieces include background knowledge, vocabulary knowledge, language structures, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. Those are a lot of the pieces that are focused on during our ELA blocks in our classrooms. And at the bottom, you see word recognition, which is the phonological awareness, the decoding, and sight recognition. So those things we focus on during OWL time with our students as we work specifically on skills associated with letters and sounds and how they blend and manipulate those to produce words. So through this reading rope, we've really kind of geared our instruction so that all of these pieces are being met so that our students can learn to read successfully. So with that, Spain-Howard was fortunate enough that we had 5 teachers who had applied for grants from, or a scholarship, from DESE for letters training. So that's the language essentials for teacher reading and spelling. So they were awarded that, and it cost them no money to go. The district was nice enough to continue to support that adult education, and we're very appreciative of that. It sparked a lot of great conversation and collaboration at our building. So it's something that has sparked interest from other teachers as well, and it's definitely impacted our professional development, our professional learning communities, and all of the collaboration that's happening here that affects the growth of students in the classroom. So these are some of the things that we started to implement this year. It's called the sound wall. So kind of in a typical classroom, what you might have seen before is word walls with students that you had letters from A to Z posted on the wall, and then underneath would be new words that they learned that started with those. So what we've learned going back to that Scarborough's reading rope is things like this Vowel Valley. So if you can see in that top picture, you see pictures of kid lips, and that's actually what this is called. But it starts with teaching vowels. So a lot of times what we think about, there's 5 vowels, but each of those vowels has 2 sounds. You add the schwa sounds in. So now we have 19 different sounds for these 5 letters, basically. So it's just trying to be very structured and explicit with our instruction. And so this Vowel Valley, and if you can see the lips on those cards, it starts out with that E that is kind of a happy face when you make that sound. You might go home and practice this later. I've done it 100 times. It's just fun. But anyway, it starts off with your face smiling until you progress down the valley where your mouth is open to say that ah sound that you would hear with the short O. And then as your mouth closes to come back to that smiling face, you end up with that yeah sound at the end. So as your mouth opens, that's how we're teaching those vowels. So students have an anchor not only to what their lips should look like, but where their tongue should be. It helps with a lot of speech development. It helps anchor those sounds that they're learning. So it's a lot of cool things that we're learning and implementing, and we hope to have great success in the future with these kids being able to read. Another thing that we have kind of changed and added are decodable text. So a shift from our leveled reading are these. So we last year had made some purchases into these, and I put an example of what it looks like. So each one of these decodable text focuses on different phonics skills that students are learning. So one of the examples came from a book in first grade today where they were focusing on that H sound. So you can see all of the words that they're reading in that book. You have Hal has lots and lots of hats. He likes hats. They have a lot of repetitive practice over the skills that they're practicing, and it gives them a great opportunity to be successful readers. This is something new as well. So we have heart words. Sometimes we call words sight words that you just need to know when you look at them, but we all know that all the letters don't necessarily make the sounds that we think they might. So we teach kids that those irregular words, or maybe words that they haven't learned the phonics skill to yet, as heart words. So said being an example that they were working on in a kindergarten classroom. When we say the word said, you kind of hear that short E sound in the middle, but that's not how it's spelled. It has the AI spelling. So we teach the kids that that is one sound, it goes in one box, and you have to remember it by heart. So they have those words to kind of help them. And the teachers are doing a great job of implementing that, and we've had a lot of success. This was also something really fun that we did this year during some of our collaboration time during teachers' plan periods. We had 3 make and takes this year, so our instructional coach actually led these, and we provided teachers with resources that they could use in their classrooms with their small group instruction. So things as simple as small slinkies that helps kids have a physical manipulative to blend and segment words, beads that they can pull apart and separate. On this next picture here, some of the resources they were able to put together. So we've got 10 frames where they can count out different words in sentences, different syllables that they hear, different sounds that they hear, be able to blend them back together. They're color-coded so they can mark the vowels and then pull those in and out and just really learn to manipulate those sounds through phonological awareness. So these are all fun and exciting things, and the kids love it because who doesn't love the little poppets that you put in front of them? So they've been great tools and a way to keep kids excited. This is something we've also been using this year on our Tier 2 instruction is the alphabet arc. So basically, it's the list of ABCs at the top, and there's an arc. So students can use this for letter identification, for ABC order. They can then go through and pull down the different letters that they need, manipulating those, segmenting and blending the words and putting them back together. And then I just pulled a couple of pictures from what literacy might look like in our classroom. So we've got small group instruction that's happening where students get a lot of one-on-one time with their teacher. They get very immediate feedback. We have whole group instruction where the district has been nice enough that all of these classrooms out here have smart boards and clever touches, so students have instant access to technology. Every one of our classrooms has Chromebooks in it for students, so they work on in small groups. And then we still like to give students opportunities to present and showcase their own learning as they write those books and then share with their classroom. So those are some of the things you see there.
Awesome.
Oh, all right, I might have to, there we go. And then one of the things Mrs. Garretts and I did this year was we wanted to provide incentives for students as well. So as they practice those reading skills, if they get to 100 books on their reading log, then they get to earn pizza with the principals, and we order pizza, and they get to come in the conference room and sit in the big chairs and eat pizza with us. So we do that every month, and it's been a big hit. It's something they really enjoy, and I think it's just as much fun for us.
May I ask where that is and what time?
Oh, it's actually 2 o'clock on the 25th, so 2 o'clock next Friday. Come on out. Yeah, is it
Are you
this
coming
Friday,
for
next
pizza,
Friday?
Jack?
22nd? Next Friday. 2 o'clock, you
Are
come
you
on out.
coming?
I thought I might.
You're gonna be hungry by 2 o'clock?
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 p.m. on the 25th.
You're gonna have to buy pizza if you come, Jack.
And Jack's buying this time.
Perfect, perfect. You're welcome
See what you
anytime.
get ringed into in
I
the
think
seat.
that's a tremendous program.
It's awesome.
I read a lot, and I'd like to go.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Go ahead, Ms. Alverson.
Okay, and other things that I wanted to share, our character education, we feel very, very strongly about this, and just teaching everybody to be very accepting of others and promote kindness. Mrs. Ming, our counselor, does a absolutely fantastic job. I really can't say enough about her and all the energy that she brings to our building. So here you see her at one of our character education assemblies that we have each month. Here she's dressed as a Yeti. So this was one of her teaching tools that she does when she goes into classrooms, because students might not be able to do everything they want to yet, but there's a power in yet, and there's the possibility of soon being able to do so. So she shares lessons with that, and she really does a fantastic job. We also use a lot of regulation techniques. You'll see those kind of on our boards that are posted around the cafeteria in here. She has things like don't be a worrywart, or a worry warrior, be a worry warrior. Said that wrong. Anyway, she does a fantastic job of doing those things. And one of the examples there, she just did this lesson in a classroom, and it was talking about beautiful mistakes. Things happen. We all make mistakes. We learn from them. And so they took scrap pieces of paper that might have been someone's mistake, and they made a beautiful creation out of that. And it was a whole lesson. And she just, I can't say enough about all the things that she brings. So Those are actually behind you on the doors as well. Just to celebrate character as well, each classroom every month chooses a character kid that represents our character word of the month. So some months we've had honesty, this month it's perseverance, acceptance, and different things. So they're honored, they get a certificate to take home, they get to go pick out a book or something from her treasure box, and it's been a lot of fun. We share their pictures on our Facebook page, and it's just been great. We also like to celebrate our adults. We think that's important. They serve as great role models for our students. So here we have Mr. Blue. He was one of our Peacemaker winners. So our theme this year was Peace, Love, and Learning. So everything goes with that tie-dye. And our staff members are actually nominated by their peers for representing that character word, and that trophy is a traveling trophy. So every month there's a new person who's been a great role model. The golden spatula. So, Mr. Jakes, here's this for you. This we actually just started not very long ago, and it was just kind of to entice manners. So our kitchen staff has actually been a big part of this. As students come through the breakfast and lunch line, those that are displaying their please and their thank you and asking very nice is just a way to reward them for those efforts. So the golden spatula is given just randomly to classes that are doing a fantastic job, and they get a treat like a little popcorn party or something in the afternoon. And it's also been something that's new and fun, but come out anytime if you want a chance at the golden spatula.
You have to go through the lunch and breakfast line.
Get lunch and breakfast. Get them both.
And use my manners.
Yes. And then I'll turn it over to Mrs. Garrett. She's going to just talk to you guys a little bit about our early childhood program.
Hello. Okay, our early childhood program, like all of our teachers here at Spainhauer, our early childhood teachers are fabulous. They do a great job with our kiddos. In early childhood, they do Project Construct learning, which is where the students learn through play. They learn through playing with others, observations of the other students, and just interacting with each other. The early childhood program does different themes each month throughout the school year, which within those themes, the students are introduced to their letters and sounds, numbers, counting, their colors and shapes. So all of those things that they are working on throughout the entire school year. The couple pictures here we have. In October, we did SPS and the Great Pumpkin, and the kids got to go upstairs into our library and go to the pumpkin patch because it was rainy outside. So we had it upstairs, and they got to go hunt for a pumpkin, and then they brought it back to their classroom and did some different activities with it, like measuring the pumpkins, and they painted them. They learned all about pumpkins throughout that month. Another one was our Fire Safety Week, where the students learned all about fire safety at school and in their home and what to do in the event of a fire. The Marshall Fire Department was kind enough to lend one of their uniforms to the early childhood teachers, and that's one of our teachers dressed up in the uniform so the kids could see what it was actually like. And I think the kids maybe tried on the helmet to see how heavy it actually was, but that was a fun thing for them as well. Another one we did at Christmas time was the Grinch week. We had throughout all of SPS, also, we did the Grinch Week where students learned about generosity and helping grow their own hearts by being kind and doing kind things for others, and learned how to grow other people's hearts. Our fabulous focus room our para, Mr. Blue, dressed up as the Grinch and went around to all the classrooms and visited with the students. And then our PTO brought in Santa Claus for us one day that the kids were able to wear their pajamas and visit Santa. During Read Across America Week, Dr. Seuss Week, we read different books by Dr. Seuss throughout that week. One of the books that early childhood read was One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, where the students could work on rhyming and patterns, colors, counting. And then we had Wacky Wednesday, where the students dressed in their wackiest dress, and each class nominated a boy and girl that was dressed the wackiest, and they got certificates, and they got to take their picture with the cat in the hat that made a special visit. Some of you might know him as Dr. T, so you can see him there in our picture. So the kids loved that. That was a lot of fun for them. Our elementary PTO has been amazing to us this school year for all of elementary buildings, and they, at the beginning of April, they did an egg hunt for our students, and the kids got to go out and hunt for eggs. They practiced their counting while doing this because each student had to find 5 eggs, so that kind of helped with that skill as well.
In control.
Yes. Okay, so in some upcoming things, we have our first parent night here at SPS. That'll be next Monday night. Our theme is Peace, Love, Look at What I Learned. So students will be able to bring their families in and show the hard work they've been doing throughout the school year and showcase some of their writing and different things that they've done throughout the school year. And then parents will have the opportunity to come and see our fabulous building. And also, while they're there, the book fair will be in the gym if anybody would like to visit that.
And that is pretty much it. So just thank you again so much for the opportunity. And it was nice for us to be able to share some of the great things that are going on at Spainhauer. So thank you.
Thank you.
We
Thank
not
you all.
only have great teachers, we have great principals at Spainhauer. So thank you all. I did nominate our early childhood program as the outstanding program in the state with Desi, and I did the nomination. They did the work, and they signed my name to it and sent it off. So we're waiting to hear if we know that we're the most outstanding in the state, but we want everyone else to know that too. So thank you for all your work.
All right. Switching gears from the happy times at Spainhauer, we're now going to be talking a
Why'd
little
you
bit
put
with
these two back to
the
back?
discipline task force that Ms. Coslett and a number of the administrators and myself have been sitting through and working on. So, Ms.
Let
Coslett.
the microphones. I do not have a slideshow for you, so sorry.
It's okay.
It's on.
Is it on? Okay. So the Discipline Task Force, we've been working for quite a few months. I have a lot of people in here. It was Kim Alberson, Julie Garretts, Jenna Godrew, Rendy Motpin, Amy Hyman, Travis Reed, Paula Brown, Adam Cooney. We had Fallon Boseller join us as kind of a representative from the CTA. And then we did actually have a few interns. Ms. Jamie Brayman and Becky Perlman came to a couple meetings. And we worked, and Noreen is here. Sorry, Noreen.
I feel
You're in
even
my
worse than
report. I just
Noreen.
forgot you in the list of names. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, moving on. We did a lot of work in a short time. I'm really impressed with everything we got started and rolling, and so I'm going to share some of that work with you. We were formed basically due to the overwhelming call for action from teachers and staff. And we all know the effects of COVID go far beyond health and learning. Kids have had their entire worlds turned upside down the last year, and we're seeing that reflected in their behavior at school. So our group was charged with examining the state of discipline programs throughout the district and to address the needs we discovered through that process. The first thing we did was we went and talked to the teachers and the staff in our buildings. We kind of did small group. I know in the high school, Adam and I met with small groups of teachers several times, and we just said, hey, what do you need? What are you seeing? What holes can we address? What tools do you need to do this job better? And so from there, we determined the themes that we found, and we set out to address those concerns. The first thing we identified was the need for a consistent pre-K through 12 discipline system. We've heard that a lot over the last month, systems and processes. We need one of those in place when it comes to this as well. We spent a month researching existing programs to determine which would be best for the needs of our students and our teachers. From there, we created a plan for initial training, and then we're going to determine how we're going to monitor that and assess for effectiveness. The program we've identified is a BIST. It's called BIST, which Behavior Intervention Support something. I meant to write it down, sorry. It's been around for a long time. We've actually done BIST training previously in the district, but it's been a very long time, like more than 10 years, so we want to bring that back. In the high school, we might take more of a restorative approach just because as the kids get older, the things that we need to work through and the ways we need to handle those things are different. We don't send a 10th grader to a buddy room. We have a different way that we handle that. So kind of blending those two. We've secured a trainer named Marty Hewitt. She's been doing this for a long time. She's a recognized expert, and she's saying that a lot of schools are going with the blended model, and so she is prepared to address that and include that in our training. Admin and ICs will do initial report this spring, followed by all district training for teachers and staff this fall. So that's the initial plan. We've also identified a need, especially at like the middle school and high school level with the new admin transitions, to kind of take a look and do some more training on the behavior process and TLC and the services that they offer. So Miss Stephanie Heinzler, our behavior interventionist, and Noreen Gaskell, the new Northwest admin. They're actually going to create flipped videos. So it's kind of like it'll be videos and things for teachers and staff to watch. And then as the school year begins, they will come in and do trainings at school levels to kind of say, this is how this process works. This is what you need to be doing. These are the steps you need to be taking. And one of the things we talked about is empowering teachers to begin that data collection and that intervention process on their own, like giving them the tools to start that before it gets to the point where they're so frustrated with the child that the relationship is broken. So working on those kind of things. The 3 elementary principals are working together to get a consistent behavior matrix. They, of course, are going to work and standardize their response to discipline, how those things are implemented, so they will be consistent throughout all the buildings. The middle and high school, we are actually meeting on Monday to begin our handbook alignment. One of the things I do kind of want to mention here is I know that the handbooks are due early May. It would probably be best if we could wait until June, until after we went through the training, because the language and the things you're going to learn, the handbooks are going to need to reflect that. So I don't know how we go about making that official, but it would probably be better if we could wait until the June board meeting for handbooks.
We can do that. That's within our purview.
Let's say we just signed an MOU with a company called Aspire. It's an anti-vaping education program. Basically, the memorandum says we understand that this curriculum is not our property and that we're not going to make money on it, and they understand that they're going to give it to us for free. So that's pretty good understanding. It's designed for middle and high school students. We're going to implement it actually beginning in fourth grade. Vaping has been a huge problem that we've seen this year. It makes up, I know it takes up a lot of our day. I know it takes up a lot of day at the middle school. I know that Noreen gets a lot of kids, so it's something that it's part of what we need to address. We're going to make it part of Health Week. Basically, the curriculum is designed to be done in a week. I think middle schools and the elementary is looking to make it part of advisory and homeroom. The high school, we're probably going to plug it into the health curriculum, which is where it's designed to go at that grade level. There's lots of other anti-vaping things that we're kind of exploring, different ways to tackle that part of the discipline issue. Trying to look here. The next steps after getting the initial stuff in place for next year, kind of getting the foundation laid, would be to look at like a 3 to 5 year plan. Like where are we going to grow? Because this is only the beginning. So are we going to want to look at like alternative to suspension programs for some of the things? Are there better ways that we can address the needs of our students? Because if detentions and suspensions worked, every child would behave every day. Right? So we have to think of ways, how can we meet the needs of our kids? What are they telling us they need? How do we hold them accountable, but make sure we're giving them what they need so that they can be successful? We talked about maybe bringing back the beat teams in a year or two, just kind of see how this goes. I've actually had conversations. The Missouri State Board of Education has a task force right now looking at mental health and ways to address those, because that is a huge component of the discipline issue that we're seeing. And so I had a conversation with Kim Bailey, who's working on there and doing a lot of work spearheading. I'm excited to see what the state is doing. I'm going to keep an eye on that. And as they roll out things, want to make sure that we're along with what they're doing. And she gave me a couple ideas, too, to maybe think outside of what we've done before to get some of those crisis mental health services to our kids. So as I get a little bit more into that, I'll be passing that around, and hopefully we can talk more about what we can do to meet our kids there. And I think that this discipline task force would be a great umbrella to kind of push some of that stuff, because we have passionate people and maybe break off in subcommittees. I don't know where it goes from here, but I have a really good feeling about the work we've done so far, and I think that we've got a lot of really good things coming.
It's good work. All right, thank God.
It's written, but I read it and I got cold feet and I went, oh, no, good.
So the last thing that we've talked about in committee is also, there's going to be a little bit of budget that actually funds this and supports this as well. I've been sitting in on these meetings as well as Dr. Mayer is, and we have a small budget line that's going to be added to for this. I believe we talked around $10,000, I think was what it was. So that will be for the training, development, and also the implementation of the program. So not all that $10,000 is spent, but that's just kind of what we threw in there. Looking at it, I believe the initial speaker was around $1,200 to $1,500, I believe. And so that's kind of just where that's going to be starting, and then rolled out, of course, district-wide in the fall, as she said. So.
Did I forget anything, guys? As I was writing doing this last night, I kept thinking of more things like, oh my gosh, I forgot this, and oh my goodness, I forgot this. So did I leave anything out that we need to talk about?
Laura could have added 40 pages for me.
She probably could have, I didn't ask. PBIS, BIST, and restorative, which as you look through we're not the only school doing this work. You know, a lot of schools are facing this, and so that tends to be that those three things, PBIS, the BIST, and the restorative practices seem to be meeting the needs of students best in a lot of districts all over the country. So I think that it's worth, I mean, they're evidence-based, they've got data to back up their effectiveness, they're programs that I think we need to make sure that we are capable and know how to carry those things out.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions outside of that? I did not see any, so. There were a couple other dates I forgot off those reports earlier, so support your BMS GATE students, April 29th. They're going to be going to State Fair and competing in the ice competition there. And everyone, please mark your calendars for May 2nd, which is going to be the beginning of our MAP testing through district. So make sure your students are well rested and ready for that week so that we can get a good gauge of where we are. MAP testing the last 3 years have kind of been a wash, for lack of a better term. So hopefully we will have some numbers to be looking at in the fall and when they get those back to us to see where we're going forward and how our curriculum's being held onto and kind of where we are after the COVID loss and regain that we're trying to have. So moving along to old business, which is going to be the health insurance report from CTA. Multiple appearances this evening.
As Jim stated earlier, CTA is really requesting fully funded insurance. That was the top of the list over our salary increases because we feel like that is just something that everybody that has insurance is looking forward to having that met and hopefully, as of right now, staying away from a cap. I know it went up $22 per person, but that's where we stand on that is the fully funded insurance. And then if there's room for salary increases, go towards the salary increases. So that's what we are looking for. We were wanting all 4 plans, but we know we're only doing 3 of those 4 plans, which is the HSA, the traditional, and the buy-up. So those are what we're looking for as far as insurance goes. So, if you have any questions or.
I do have some questions. So can you tell me about this, on the UH, the United Healthcare, can you tell me about the sub-network and how that will work for our district employees?
As far as?
Well, I understand that a sub-network has a DDP, which is a designated diagnostic provider. And so that seems limiting to me for our people. And so my question would be, tell me about the subnet, what this policy gives as a sub-network and how many people are DDPs in our community?
That would be a Jim question because Jim, and he's already gone, but I mean, he's the one that stays in contact with our rep that we have.
That's great. I will tell you that the adoption, and I do this for an entire business, and so I've heard of this program, and it causes me great concern for my employees. An adoption of a DDP will limit your opportunity for diagnostic treatment, which would be your labs and your radiology. So all of those would have to go out of town to get those done. So teachers, classified, everybody that gets our insurance will be missing more time than they need to be because they're not going to be able to use a facility in this community. There is not a DDP provider in Marshall. So that's a huge concern. I know, I'm looking back through some of my notes. I know that the American Hospital Association and the National Association of Insurance Commissioners spoke highly against the UHC's DDP and flagged it very misleading. And so another thing that comes back to my mind with a DDP would be our employees thinking that because Fitzgibbon, I'll just use that as an example, is a in-network provider for UH, they are not a DDP. So if one of your employees goes to Fitzgibbon thinking they're in-network and they get a diagnostic treatment, that will not be covered. And so it's misleading that you're at a UH servicer, but you are not at a DDP. And so I'm going to be complete and frank and honest with you. This makes me extremely concerned. It doesn't feel as though this plan would support a local company, a local organization like our hospital that just for right out of the gate, they give us at least $40,000 annual salary and a free athletic trainer to our district annually. And this takes services from that organization totally out of Saline County. And so that, when I saw this, I thought, I'm concerned. And then as I read down through my notes and I remember why, it's basically creating a tiered benefit, which tells you as an employee who you have to go to under the DDP designation. And I'm telling you that your hospital and the place where we all get labs in this community, they are not designated providers for this plan. So it takes all of the district's employees out of county to get labs, x-rays, CT scans. And then when you look at your closest place is Sedalia, those are low-cost, low-grade CT scan. So you're going to take those low-grade, low-cost CT scans and then go to your provider in Columbia, per se, that's a specialist, and they're going to make you do all new scans because you've got a low-grade, low-cost scan. This plan super concerns me for the price, considering, and I'll be honest, considering what we can do for our people, this is extremely high and not great, in just my opinion. And so I don't like it because you guys deserve better. You deserve better care. Sorry. I had a page of notes. I just didn't want to.
And that is all, like I said, that is all. I know Jim is the person that gets in contact with our person that's over the consortium. So, and I know that's what the consortium went with.
Well,
So
and I think when we start talking about you guys have to leave work and then you have to pay for gas to get somewhere else to do your labs, the cost difference might actually even out for you. So I'm not sure that, in my opinion, I believe that DDPs are super unsold, oversold, and uneducated. And
Dr. Mayer, are you able to shed some light on our relationship to the consortium?
What I would suggest, and we are in a consortium, the consortium makes those decisions. We have looked in the past at other consortiums, other ways to bring insurance to our employees. I would suggest that we have one of the agents from the Valentine Agency, who is the office that handles all the business of the consortium. I would suggest we bring them here and have a special meeting or not a town hall, but a meeting where employees, board members, et cetera, could come, and they can explain these things.
Yeah.
I think those are important questions to ask them. It's a lot of money, and I think it would be a good idea to possibly table this for right now and set up a meeting, if we can, in the next couple weeks.
So our current insurance coverage runs us through, is it through June? Do we do fiscal year? Okay, because I just seen there were some insurance signups that were even going to start occurring.
Yes, and
It's gonna have to be quick.
Valentine will be in the district, like, I know they're gonna be at my building tomorrow morning for us to sign up for the new insurance, so.
And
I don't-
possibly maybe I should get on the phone tonight and say,
It's just concerning to me. I think we need to have
I
all the
agree.
information on the table.
I agree.
Especially, there's been a lot of uncomfortable is a really good word for these DDPs in Missouri and then nationally. And I don't think that Marshall needs to be in a position to sign our teachers up for something that's getting negative national news. It's just not a plan that seems comfortable.
I think I'll text Ashley Christie right now and have her call.
Sorry.
That's okay.
What's wrong with that?
And we can set a date for a meeting. I can send out some dates, and we can get that nailed down.
As long as it's not going to put the teachers in a
Correct.
difficult spot.
They are covered until June the 30th.
Yeah, I was going
or-
to say, that was
yeah.
why I asked how long our coverage lasted, so it
This
sounds
is an
like-
action item, so I'm going to move we table it for another, till the
Second.
next meeting.
All those in favor of tabling, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thanks for the additional information, Ellen, and we'll be sure to check and find out if our coverage is adequate as proposed to us.
Okay.
So the next thing is increase in summer help pay from $10 an hour to $13 an hour, which now with the minimum wage changes, we are even below that at 10. So going up to $13 an hour, I believe this number hasn't changed for quite a few years as well. So we are going to be doing some work. Is there any kind of projected number this is going to cost us by any means?
We typically, so we were about to move this up right before COVID hit, and it's just been froze there for 10. The last couple of years, I've had 2 or 3 summer maintenance help me, and about 5 or 6 on the paint crew. So we're talking about less than 10 people. They asked, and I was already coming with it before they asked, and I think you need to look at it again next year. But they were, and they've been the same 7 or 8 people that have helped me for the last 4 or 5 summers, and
Well,
they
if
were.
you don't get them, they're going to go somewhere else.
Correct, and that's why I think we should go here, and I think you should put this on the agenda to talk about next time, again, next year, maybe bumping it just a little bit more, so.
I move that we move them to 13.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor of moving summer help pay to $13 an hour, please say aye.
Aye.
Everybody gets mine
Any
today.
opposed or abstaining? All right.
No.
Dr.
okay,
Lorenz, you are
Sorry.
back for some bidding.
Okay.
They're 10-month employees who.
So over on the tables, we're going to be talking about paints, and we're going to be talking about flooring. There's some paint samples over there that I think Christy picked out, some grays, and I put the same paint samples on both tables. The table on the left, I believe the flooring is JC Flooring, and the table on the right is the Floor Guys, if you want to go take a look at that in a little bit. But on the paint, we had 2 bidders, Tolliver Painting and Msba Painting. Tolliver Painting did the work for Serpro, the ceiling work, the work in the high school. So you see the bids in front of you, and
Harry. All the overspray. All the overspray.
So there were 2 bids,
2 bidders.
and those bid numbers were,
We had Tolliver Painting come in at $87,664. We had Msba Painting come in at $107,850.
Where's Msba from?
Here.
They're local?
Yeah, we try to stay as local as we
Yeah.
can with all those, with that type of work.
So on Msba, they talked specifically about doors, baseboards, walls, like they talked specifically. In this other one, I never could find specifics except what they weren't going to do.
are the parameters of the bid or the work that's going to be done equal? I took it as it would be equal, even though, as she was saying, the language was a lot different on the.
The language is
worded.
different, but both companies went down and talked to Joey about the plan of action for the primer and the number of coats of paint. They've both been in contact with, I'm sorry, not Joe, Sherman-Williams.
Have both of these businesses been in the high school to actually physically see it?
Yes, Troy showed them, did the walkthrough.
The facility and the walkthrough?
Oh, okay, so Troy took them through?
Yes.
Okay. And then there's also a difference in paint, it looks like? Explain that. Or is that not true? One just says,
There was some discussion over the paint, and again, we referred them to Joey. Joey knows what we use to paint on here. We wanted a semi-gloss on there. We didn't want an eggshell, something that when you touch it with your fingers, it leaves a mess for us for years to come. So both bids understand that the primer and the paint is going to be of a consistent nature and a semi-gloss.
So we're talking apples to apples?
We are talking apples to apples.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Do we have, I mean, I don't know, when we get bids like this, do they come with recommendations ever, or we just have to go on the number, not based on service?
Well, we've used Tolliver before.
Yes, correct.
Correct.
I've used Oliver at home, and they've done an excellent job.
We've also had opportunities for overspray at times with painters in our facilities, and so it concerns me.
All right, these
the
are
quality of
both,
work.
these are both insured agencies as
Correct.
well?
Correct.
So,
No, I did not ask for references from either company. They were local. I've used the one, and I assume that enough of us in town know or have used them both that they can make an educated decision about which way they want to go.
so, with that being said, we have 2 bids. Do we have any more information that we need to cover before we look at these 2 bids? I feel like I'm getting quieter, Wesley. I think I'm going to have to yell a little bit more.
Got to pull up
If I can
closer
get
to the
just a
mic.
little bit more gain, please.
I'll move to accept the low bid.
Their
I'll
work was
second.
terrible at the high school.
There's been a motion to accept the low bid of $87,644, or $664, excuse me.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, I think so.
Motion and
It's
second.
been motioned and seconded. Is there any more discussion?
I don't think they got one drop.
Harry,
Yes.
are you sure about that?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed
Aye.
and abstaining? Thank you. We will be using Tolliver Painting for $87,664. Next, we will be moving on to talk about flooring.
So we, Troy and Mike and I looked at Santa Fe School, saw some tile that seemed to be pretty durable. We've talked to the floor guys and JC Flooring here in town about this type of tile flooring. We asked both bidders to bid us a 20 mil and a 28 mil. It's just difference in thickness and durability. We also asked yes, the tile's over on the table. If you can, feel free to get up and walk while I talk. So so it was a general floor bid that we asked for tile, the type of tile you're seeing over there. We asked the bidders that did a walkthrough of the building to bid us to remove the carpet, remove the glue, and level the floor. That wasn't specifically listed in the minutes or in the RFP, but Troy and I talked about it, and he specifically asked that. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there. You notice on the bids, in the one company, the floor guys, on their 20 mil flooring, they show a 20-year warranty. On their 28 mil flooring, they show a 30-year warranty. JC Flooring, on their 20 mil flooring, they show a 15-year warranty, and their 28 mil, they show a 25-year warranty. So there's a 5-year difference in warranty coverage on the flooring. In the bids, you notice that the floor guys bid to remove the carpet, remove the glue on the floor, and level any depressions. JC Flooring, in their bid, and we double-checked with them to make sure that's the way, we gave them an opportunity to be, we were trying to be as apple to apple as we could be, that it was glue removal / or encapsulating primer. But they would determine that once the carpet was taken up. So the difference in the bid amounts has, I don't know if I want to say significant, but there is a difference in the labor involved is what a lot of the difference that
So
you see.
based on this labor cost, one would have to assume that they plan to encapsulate it and not remove it? based on this labor cost versus a labor cost of someone that says they're going to remove it and not encapsulate it, one would have to assume that they're going to encapsulate and not remove. Removing glue would take a whole lot longer than encapsulating it.
I can't put words in their mouth.
I've done it. I mean, I know
but-
how it takes a long time to remove glue off of a floor.
So,
Okay, so then my next question is, has JC walked through the building since they put the carpet in?
since they put the carpet in.
They put the squares in for the district.
Troy,
But
Troy-
they walked through the building now?
Yes, according to Troy, he's talked to both of them. I didn't get a chance to do the walkthroughs. I was off campus the days they were looking at it, but Troy told me that the painters and the floor guys have had, the floor companies, sorry.
The floor guys have been in the
Have
building.
had a chance to see the floor, and they've talked, and he's talked to them in person about it, so.
Okay. I just, this bid for, that includes encapsulating concerns me. And I also feel like going back to, and this is beating a dead horse maybe, but we have pieces of that carpet that you can pick up with your hand. And I feel like the insurance company needs to get some push for this. Our carpet was not picking up by hand prior to the fire. So if they're cleaning, whoever they hired to clean the carpet, made that carpet pull up the way it is right now, that is not Marshall Public Schools' problem.
So we are getting, just on that note, we are getting a rebate from the insurance company, certainly for the art hallway all the way to the island, and then down in the area, we're getting a rebate for replacement of the art hallway and partially down the other long hallway.
Okay, but again, if they had to clean all of the building, all 90,000 square feet of the building, and that cost all 90,000 square feet of the building to start peeling up, it was not doing that previous. So they are responsible because their cleaners caused that carpet to peel. So there has to be some push on our end to say, this carpet was not peeling before you left, or before we left the building. Now that you've had whoever you hired clean it and it's all peeling, you can go in there and pick it up. I was in there, I did it. You can do this with the carpet. It was not doing that. It was not doing that the first day of November.
We did talk about that on one of the walkthroughs, I remember.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. It's not just the hallway. The smoke wasn't in one hallway. I get sick of hearing that. The smoke was in every room. They cleaned every room. They ran their thing across every piece of carpet and made it all curl up. So I just still don't understand why this is a district's concern when we pay insurance to provide us coverage. It really frustrates me because we can't give teachers the amount of money we want to give them, but we're willing to pay a job that's an insurance company's problem, and there's no push for it.
I would like to make a motion that we table this because I also feel like the bid needs to be clarified a little bit, just to make sure that we understand exactly the difference between the two and if the encapsulating is there or not. I know that may change some of the warranting and things that occur with it too. And so I need to make sure that, what we're doing is actually going to be the best interest.
If we
there.
table it, can we still get it done by August?
One's
1?
Oh, yeah.
What is
The
today?
bids are good through, I read,
Well,
90 days.
well, yeah, but if they
You
don't
gotta
know
order the
for, if they
material.
don't know for 30 days that we're going to be on their list, then they're going to fill up. Like, they're going to keep
Yeah,
working.
that could happen too.
We probably
I
will
went
need
back
to-
for that specific purpose to clarify the piece that you were
Did I
asking.
miss that while I was standing? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I went back specifically and requested that, to make sure they understood that we were looking for carpet up, glue up, floor leveled. And their response was that we would decide that, they would decide that. So their answer was the glue removal / or encapsulating with primer would be determined once they pick up the carpet.
I move that we accept the floor guy's bid and we push the insurance company to give us reimbursement.
Floor guys, that's the high bid.
It is, but they're taking the glue up. It's going to last longer. And they've been in the building and walked through it.
So I am still in discussion with the insurance about a number of things, the carpet being one of them. We just got settled today on ceiling tile that we had agreed in kind that we would be able to go to a 2x2 ceiling tile, and we went back and forth because it was going to cost them another $15,000 or $20,000, and I was
talking
able to help them
$100,000
refresh their memory about what we
But they're
had
gonna
agreed on.
encapsulate it
So
versus
I haven't
take it
given
away,
up
so it's
completely
just gonna
on
peel
the
up.
Whatever,
for what you
whatever
did.
result happened from the floor cleaning, I haven't
They
given
haven't
up on
been
that
in to
yet.
put the carpet in.
I just know the factual part about what we are getting 100% covered, which is a hallway and a half. So, yes, I'm still in discussion with them about any further damages that we were able to recover from whatever happened to the rest of the carpet on the cleaning. So,
I mean, it's all peeling.
yeah,
They
no, I
walked
know.
through with us and saw it.
Yeah, I know, I know. And we may end up having to have music back here if we, once I get as much out of them as,
Let's walk
once
through
I
again.
get as much out of them and we get as many things settled, if there's still anything that we have problems or issues, take issue with, I would suggest that we bring them back if we still have some issues with anything that we don't feel.
We're 6 months into this.
Yes.
It's ridiculous that we're still arguing and questioning and not getting what we need. We're not ever 6 months behind on our payment to them, but they're not responding to us.
No,
Our
they've been.
kids and families pay taxes here so that we have a good insurance company to move us forward and protect us. We're not getting that protection. It's frustrating.
So I'm not defending any side of this, but this whole movement is to try to be ready with all of these
Yeah.
events to begin the day after school lets out. So, so as far as some of this discussion that you're speaking about, it's not completely settled. I mean, I'm working on it daily.
I 100% agree with you. It's not my frustrated, it's not necessarily with you.
Yeah.
My frustration is the fact that we're 6 months in and you guys still don't have a direct answer. This is what we're gonna do, this is how we're gonna fix it, and this is when you're gonna have your money. You guys deserve better response as a district from a company that we pay a lot of dollars to and have over the years. It just seems like it's okay, it's Marshall, who cares? No, we care. And our kids deserve a high school that doesn't stink, and it does smell when you walk in there. My kids' clothes come home and they stink every single day, and these teachers have to go home the same way, and they deserve a place where they can walk freely and not fall over the carpet. If somebody has a wheelchair, a walker, a cane, they're in danger in that building. That's how it is. And if you want to call somebody in with some ADA specs, call them in. They'll tell you that floor isn't qualified or certified for an ADA requirement. It's dangerous. But we still have yet to hear back from the insurance company on it. I don't understand. Push them. That's all I'm saying. We need to push them. 6 months. 6 months later, we still have answers that are unanswered. We still have itemized lists that they haven't responded to. We haven't turned it in, but we ought to have those lists by now. We know what they are. We need to be moving. And unfortunately, you guys are leaving, so in 2 months, you guys are gone, and it's left to somebody else that's gonna have to spin the wheels again. You guys have had a relationship with them. They ought to take care of you. They ought to take care of you. I would expect them to take better care of you than somebody new coming in because they might not know him. And so it's very frustrating that you guys are going and we're still going to be dealing with this, and we've still got principals that don't have buildings ready to go. Our kids need a place finished, and I said this in February. Get on it, get on it, get on it. And Jeremy sat right there and looked me dead in the face and said, I will tomorrow. Those were his exact words to me.
I agree.
I said,
I
the
saw that.
community already thinks that the board doesn't push and the administrators don't push for us to have the very best and best service, best whatever. And if we don't have a building ready by August, they're going to lose it. And I 100% think they should. So there's my 2 cents and I'm off my soapbox. But we need to push the insurance company.
Well, anyway, I'll second the floor guys' motion. I like the longer warranty.
That's a $105,000 difference.
It's,
And that's what we want to go with a higher bid, $105,000 over the.
It's 80.
80,000.
80,000.
It's 80,000.
80,000? My math is terrible.
It's 80,000 difference and a 5-year extra on the warrant. If you're looking, and I would recommend to you,
Warranty.
I would recommend to you to make the motion on the 28 mil if I were doing it.
Yes, that's all he bid.
Oh, you just have the one?
From the floor guys.
Yeah.
I've got them both from Floor Guys. I got 20 and 28 from Floor Guys.
I don't.
Let me read this off to you because I thought I got this on your copy, but the other, JC Flooring, they have a 20 mil flooring.
Yes, we have that.
Yeah, we have that.
You have both?
We have both on the bottom, but.
Oh, the floor guys, the floor guys have a 20 mil flooring with a 20-year warranty at $309,145.
Oh, I didn't get that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we didn't get that one.
We don't have that one.
That
We
was.
don't have that one.
I apologize. When I went back to
What is
try
the
to settle
number?
this for
Okay,
you.
yeah, 309 and what?
309,145.
Okay, Ellen, you want to amend your?
Yeah, I'll amend, and Harry, you're still gonna cringe at me. I'm gonna go with the 28 mil. It's 30-year warranty, $341.95. Give these kids something besides green carpet, crying out loud.
I'll stick with my second.
You seconded there? Okay.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, and there's been plenty of discussion. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those abstaining,
Or opposing.
Or opposing. You don't
Yeah,
have to
you
agree
can
with it all.
oppose.
are you abstaining, Harry, or opposing?
Go ahead, abstain.
Abstain?
Jack is a no.
Jack is a no.
And Jack is a no, and I'm opposing also. So that carries 3-2-2-1. If my math is correct, Madam Secretary.
Map?
Yes,
Okay.
that's where the 3 came
That's
from.
correct, okay.
Brian, I think an abstention counts as a no vote on that. 3 can't carry it.
Because that is not a quorum.
Yeah.
Call Brad.
Actually, 3 and 3.
Oh, we're split?
Yes.
Oh.
What would it take to convince you?
Oh.
Was there
Have
a
you-
scope, was there a scope sent out for this? Because we didn't, there was not a scope
I
sent
mean,
out.
you're looking at,
Okay, well, the high bid fails, right? But so what about, I'll move for the 309,145 for the 20 mil.
what is the current number that we're getting, the current credit we're getting for carpet at this minute?
That number hasn't been established.
Could it be 90,000 at least?
No, I don't think so.
It won't be quite 90,000.
They were way down on
It's
that
a-
when they were talking like
it's-
50.
Yeah, it won't be 90.
So
Is
consider that
Closer
we're
to
gonna get
50
credit
probably.
to go
Probably
with the
closer to
28
50.
mil.
You're very persuasive, yes. All right, what's the new, is there a new motion on the floor?
I have questions because I have a bid in front of me with question marks on the bid itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, that's concerning.
That's why I wanted to try to table and get some clarification.
Okay.
Because the bids they seemed completely different. But the maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that was also
But they've
kind
already
of
called to
iffy for me.
clarify,
I
and
don't like
that's
the
what we
word
got.
or.
Yeah.
I don't like the word or in a bid.
That's why I went back. That's why I went back. I can go back a third
Can I
time.
make my motion again?
I made the 309 motion.
There's
I
a
know, but it's
motion.
for the 20 mil. So I'd like to move the floor, guys, for the 28
But we-
mil for
oh.
the 341.
We need to let her motion either die or be voted on.
Well, yeah, Ellen, I don't.
So
think we can-
just a moment. So right now, we have a bid for the 20 mil flooring. A motion for the 20 mil flooring at 309,145 that does not have a second, which would be the lower grade of flooring for a 20-year warranty versus a 30-year warranty.
So you're talking $31,000 difference in
No.
the 28 to the 20 and 10 years of warranty.
Just let the motion die and then we'll
Yep,
vote on
I'm
yours.
cool with that.
So, since the motion dies from lack of support, we are back for another motion.
Can I make a motion that we accept the floor guys 28 mil, 341.95 for 28, yeah, so 28 mil for a 30-year warranty, my goodness.
Wait, I thought that was the one that.
That was the one before, but Harry might have changed his mind.
So,
Okay.
the motion died for lack of support initially.
Harry,
There is now another
with you.
motion on the floor for the 28 mil flooring back at 341.95 for the 30-year product, 28 mil.
I just want it done.
Correct.
Who's,
And there is still only a first.
Second. We need one.
I'm not going to second it.
I would really
I will
like to
vote
see
for it, but
just
I won't second it.
apples to apples and no ors/or
So
in a
you
bid.
want to move for the table as well?
So
But we've
there
got a
is
second.
still
We
a
don't have a second yet.
I'm sorry, Brian.
first with no second. I'm just getting it out here. This is-
Motion to table.
So without support of the
I'll second that.
second round, we are on a motion for tabling. I want to also make it clear we're going to have to figure out a time to meet early next week so that we can get these materials ordered to do nothing more than possibly approve this bid. So we will be finding a date very quickly so that we can make sure.
discussion?
We're discussing now. We've been discussing.
Okay,
Of
so my
course.
question is this. No disrespect to anybody, but if you're asked to give a bid and you put a question mark on it, and you're called again and you put another question mark on it, do you really want the job? I'm just asking. Because Matt, I'm pretty sure if you do a bid, you're not putting question marks on yours. You're giving them apples. You're giving them what they asked for. You're giving them all the information so they don't have to call you back. You're going into the building to see what you're going to be doing. And then you're talking to the people that work there. You're giving them what they need. And then you know that there's a meeting on Wednesday and they're going to decide on it. Because our kids and our families deserve for us, the board, to have an educated piece of paper in front of us that has the entire scope of service on it, so they can make an educated decision based on the information they're given at that meeting.
Most charitable read, it might have been something where they felt like something
Well,
was
that-
open.
And that's my
Just-
issue, is if I do a quote for an entity like a school, there is always a scope.
Right.
Because then there is no,
Soon as he finishes.
I guess we need to,
there is no guess. You know, you either followed the scope or you didn't, and it
And so-
protects all involved.
If you will give me just a moment, I'm going to recognize the gentleman. Yes, sir.
Jake, I'm Chris Chamberlain, owner of the Floor Guys. I'm here to answer any questions that one might have, because obviously this is a huge job. And so I tried to summarize the scope of the work in there. So if anybody has any questions, because they're not intimately familiar with the work that needs to be done, we're here to, or I am here to answer any questions that you all may have.
I do appreciate you being physically present to accept questions for your bid and to
So do
clarify
I.
it for us. I have a couple of quick questions for you.
Good.
Turnaround on you ordering product and being able to get this installed where we're looking at and getting it here. What are you looking at timeline-wise? If we were to push this for another week, does that throw your timeline off?
It does not.
Okay.
bad answer.
For you all to take the time to make an educated decision, what's best for the school, we have no problem with that. The indestructible, the 28 mil product, will be here sometime in May. Understanding it's 63,000 square feet that we have to have delivered to the school. The 20 mil, which has a 25-year warranty for 50 cents less, would be here 1st of June. Now, considering the scope of work that has to be done, the painting, then the ceilings, and then we come in behind you in those rooms, any delay is not gonna hinder our ability moving forward. And it's important to understand, not only do you have the old VCT, vinyl composite tile that's down, the carpet squares, the different adhesives, the different layers of adhesives that have been applied over the years, those multi-purpose adhesives. The only way to properly do this, to have a valid warranty for the next 30 years, is to remove all that adhesive. And that is specifically why I just now learned we have a significant price difference. We're physically removing all adhesive from the floors, and that's only done with concrete grinders.
You are going to grind them?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
all the way down.
Yeah, we have a commercial crew that I work with periodically, when time is of the essence.
Now, will your grinders have filters on them to pick up the dust and soot and everything?
Yes, sir. Dust containment along with air scrubbers in those rooms to ensure that they stay dust-free. And that's why you have the difference in bid.
Okay.
And you checked with your manufacturer that encapsulating is not an option as far as covering the warranty?
Correct, because so about a third of the high school is the carpet tile with pressure-sensitive adhesive underneath it. And I think it's just one
Oh, you
layer,
don't want me to?
which will be straight and then green.
There's a couple of places where it's double layered,
Okay.
green and
All right.
this stuff on top of it.
Well, in the carpet in all the classrooms
Yeah.
is a multi-purpose adhesive that is crystallizing. So therefore, it's breaking down and releasing from the concrete. It's
So
not
it's-
designed to last that
So it's going to have to be ground.
Correct.
All
Well,
right.
it has to come off.
Okay.
Because it's already releasing from the concrete, so you can't encapsulate and then expect the new luxury vinyl tile or planks.
It's going to do what it's doing now.
Right.
Correct. And what you have now is exactly what you described. You win. Which are true.
All right. Thank you for the expert testimony here for us this evening on the floor. So getting back on the floor, I'm going to make a motion that we accept the 28 mil bid, 30-year warranty for $341,095. Being present has swayed my opinion. All those in favor? I'm going to roll call vote this to make sure we all understand where we're going.
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
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 Nice work, Jack.
And democracy and tyranny reign supreme.
Okay, I
Moving
expect
down
there to
to
be
the
some song
approved-
tomorrow morning in the high school about floors or something. That was a long job.
Approval for the bid of the entrance door replacement
Chamberlain,
at
don't let me down.
MHS, IA, SCCC, and BMS. Thank you, sir.
So we had previously talked about doing the doors around Beaker along with storefronts. We've added, we talked about the next project moving forward, and as long as it took to get the doors at the nursing building and to finally get this bid moving at Beaker, we have added the 4 doors on the pathway from the Career Center through the IA and at the high school. So this bid includes the doors surrounding Beaker and the 4-door set at the high school, IA, and Career Center. And,
I have a question.
yes?
So who did the south doors at your high school?
That's what I was going to ask.
The
Wasn't it
south
Dugan
doors
who
at the
did-
high school were done by Dugan Glass.
Okay,
That's what I
so
thought.
on this bid, will this bid match those doors?
Well, in, yes. in-
Material-wise, like
Yes,
color?
the color will change to different buildings. We won't put a chrome door over at Beaker. It'll go back with it's got a chocolate colored.
Right,
Okay.
yes.
But it,
I mean, like, if we've already got the doors on the south end of the high school, and we're gonna have all this beautiful new flooring, are we gonna have the same color doors as we already have?
at the high school?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's all I wanted to
But they will change from the high school to the IA and then again to the Career Center. They will match the rest of the door structures in those buildings. Follow me?
Kinda.
The IA has brown doors.
All right.
The high school has
Silver.
silver, and I believe Career Center has chrome, or silver.
Wow, we are
We will,
awesome.
I know.
All right.
The hardware will be consistent with what we put on the south doors as far as the access control, the electronic push bars, as far as cameras, and we're already working on solution for a camera check-in systems, a main one, just like we have out here at Spainhauer for the
Right.
front of Beaker, and then 2 of the other doors at Beaker, the gym, and one on the backside will have a lesser camera that you can buzz in and be seen. The rest will just have key fobs. Anywhere else will have key fobs. And the passway over here at the high school, Career Center IA, will all be tied into the access control system, which will allow those doors to be locked all the time throughout the day, except in passing periods.
Okay. So the other bid that we have, does that material match at the high school?
The other bidder?
Yes.
So because we had Dugan glass for the first set,
Yes.
the materials that we're using, the locks, those type of systems, are they going to be the same type of door if we go with this other low bidder that is 16,000 lower, give
Yeah,
or take some change?
The door is relatively the same type of door. The only thing that will change will be the color on them. The hardware will be the same. The Central Missouri Glass is the company that put the doors on out here at the new wing of Spainhauer.
Okay.
So Dugan, we have used Dugan for all of the doors up to this point, and we've been looking all over for other bidders to compete. I don't have any problem with Dugan's doors or their work, and I'm quite satisfied, actually. I haven't had any bad experiences with the door people out here either, so I don't have anything negative to say about either one. But as far as hardware, as far as color tones, they're going to be consistent.
Let's see how this goes. I move we accept the bid from Central Missouri Glass.
I'll second.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I'm gonna have to go with you. You
Is there
finally
more,
came
is
around.
there more discussion?
I'll be honest, I don't have a problem saying this. We've done a lot of business with Dugan Glass over the years. And for them to give us a bid that's higher than somebody else is a little frustrating to me. You've put in a lot of doors. We've put in all new doors at the gymnasium in the last 5 years and used Dugan for all those. So for them to come in as a higher bid, it's,
And they're
Well,
way higher.
and
They're not just,
I mean, they've been in high demand, and they're hard to get to right now. And I didn't have this Central Missouri Glass in my vendor list until this last time when they put these doors in here. And now that Mr. Dugan, Dugan knows this,
Okay.
I'm sure what you do with them in the future will probably be,
that's a whole door. I mean, yeah.
yeah.
So we don't need any.
Call
more,
question.
sir. It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor for the bid of 102,435.53 from Central Missouri, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you.
This next
Believe it or
one's an
not,
easy
we
one.
have one more bid for the evening.
Yes, I'm sorry I've taken so long. But
You're
this
fine.
is on the BMS gate.
I move we
back-
accept the bid.
There you go.
I'll second.
Are you sure you don't want to go out for
It
other
was
bids?
18,191.26.
I believe there was only one bid.
Everybody
on this one, if I
involved is
remember
very
correctly.
excited about this. That gate is very much of a pain, as much as it has to get open during the day and get drug open. It's been,
That would be nice to have
It'd
it
be
up
nice to have
there.
one of
It
those in
really
high
would.
school also.
Dr. T, thank you for your
And the
patience.
reason that went so fast is because there was only one bid for those of you all out there, and that is $18,191.26.
and that will be a mobile gate that will be able to be operated by a fob or a pad.
Yeah.
All those in favor, I believe it has been moved and seconded correctly?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your patience today, Dr. T.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Moving along. I know everyone's waiting for the salary schedule discussion, and we have one more topic before that. So next, we're going to discuss and look at the four-day school schedule discussion.
So we just are bringing this to the board at this point to, we have had a community opportunity for people to engage with us via email and then come and visit Matt and I. We had, 10 people there. We have about 54 people reach out to us on that email string. We've talked to all the administrators. I sat down and had a lengthy conversation with Laura and Grace. Was that last week or the week before? Sometime recently. Yeah, a week ago already, right? And so initially, we had talked about this for the 23-24 school year. Then we kind of thought, well, maybe we can, with all the positive influence reactions that we'd had, maybe we could look at it for next year. And then after talking with specifically Laura, she was a voice for many that felt like doing it for next year's too quick. And maybe looking at our calendar, we went from 4.5 days this year on our calendar to 2 Mondays off next year to transition to 4 days off the next year. So we could basically step this. Our vote tonight, if we would agree to this, this gives us an opportunity then to be discussing what day will work best. The new administration will be able to work with their team as far as planning PD and how they will want that to look. Will that be 1 day? Will that be 2 days? Will that be 2 half days? Will that be 2 full days? Will that be at all, whatever they do? And so this just gives us an opportunity for our team of administrators that are already here to really already focus and have this on their in their headspace as they plan for the following year, which, believe it or not, they're already doing. I mean, even though they're looking at 22, 23, they're looking at 23, 24. I learned a lot from sitting in front of them. And so this just gives them an opportunity to go ahead and start building that. It puts it in play so that people can continue to ask their questions. But what we found in our communication is people already are getting daycare providers for that Wednesday afternoon. Many of those people are paying a full day for that. This year, they'll have 2 Mondays that they pay for, and then next year, they'll have 4 Mondays to pay for. What this also gives an opportunity is they can go ahead and start planning like their after-school sessions, what those will look like in that next year. Right now, the high school has their recovery program. The middle school and elementaries have their programs that they're doing, and so they can go ahead and start kind of planning what those will look like down the road with a 4-day week. They can be giving recommendations on maybe they want 2 days of the month to be recovery day for students to actually come to school and get help with those teachers instead of it being after school. But us allowing them and saying now, let's look for our calendar for the 23-24 school year to be a 4-day, they can go ahead and start approaching that and preparing next school year, right now for next school year, for them to prepare for the 4-day week the next year. Does that make sense in a nutshell?
Yes. Now, there was a community survey, I thought. Have we ever got any results back on that?
We're going to wait on that because we're going to wait until Mr. Pettit gets here to complete that, just because that'll be more of an opportunity for them to speak once they've had the 2 Mondays out already versus just the 4.5 day, if that makes sense. So they're gonna have 2 weeks that are full 4 days next year in the school calendar versus four weeks of 4 days.
Haven't we already voted on the calendar?
For the 23, 24, no.
This,
No, but-
this
Yes,
would be
it's
a
already
two-year
there.
move,
We already
yes.
have that calendar.
Yes, next year, so,
Yeah.
So it's 2 days a month already.
yes.
Out next year.
I,
Well, one Monday in the month next year, yes. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
It's
Some
one
Mondays are
yes.
2 because of the change. Yeah.
so, I'm interested to know, Ms. Jacoby, how do you feel this is going to affect our curriculum and instruction?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am, please.
So there's many things that would, chips that would have to fall for this, there's districts that have done it, around. I can't speak to all the processes and the procedures that would have to be in place for this. The general just dynamics of, and principles, you might have something you need to add or say or whatever. When this was originally approached, it was, hey, could we go to this? And I don't know that we've had enough time to maybe soak around what this would really entail for us. And what that would mean for our community. But let me talk to just about instruction, because that's what I can speak to. The biggest difference is going to be the instructional minutes. So what that means is we're required to go a certain amount of minutes per deci. We have that cushion time built in, for whatever circumstances, for weather, whatever. We do have AMI. I've submitted that application already for next school year, so we have that in place as well, whenever we get into those situations and if we wanted to use that. But what that means for that instructional time is, what does that look like? Is it at the end of the day? Is it beginning? Is it both? How many minutes are we talking about extending? Those are decisions that would have to be made. Is it more weeks? Is it a combination of both? There are some districts that do that, and maybe they extend their weeks by 2 weeks, and then they compromise on the minutes. So that dynamic would have to be in place. Is like, how many minutes? Whatever we're required to do, and then that cushion time built in. The biggest thing that I would want everybody to realize is and I had emailed Ms. Lance and kind of talked to her about, there's 38 less days of instruction, so that's something to know. That's days. Now, we're required to go minutes, but that's an estimate, because again, we're still running into that, where does that plan fall? So where that falls is for, curriculum, we have pacing guides, we have our scope and sequence, and we have our written curriculum. That would change some things. That would change the layout, obviously, and that would go into the lesson plans too. I mean, we adjust our lesson plans all the time, right? We get formative assessments, we make mid-course corrections, all of those things. So when I say lesson plans would need to be changed along with pacing and curriculum, what I mean with that is that the structure of that is, so if we've got this X amount of time that we've done that's spent on these priority standards and these supporting standards, what does that look like then if our blocks are for ELA made longer, or for our hours or our bell schedule? So there's a lot of that would need to be considered and talked about. So there's a trade-off there on as far as what that looks like. I did reach out. I went to a training, the Show Me Curriculars Administrative Association. It's SMCAA, and I spoke to Roblin. And I was actually brought up at the meeting. It was March 30th, I believe, and I talked to her, and she brought that up with a lot of the districts. She was personally concerned, and she works closely with DESE, about struggling with districts that struggle to get in the 5 days of curriculum that's required by the state. There's a lot, as we all know. And what that would look like within a four-day week. So I did get that information from her. So I can't speak to anything else as far as what that would look like for busing or what that would look like for other dynamics, but I can speak to what that would mean as far as changes in the curriculum and the scope and sequence and the pacing, and then what that would do to lesson plans and things like that. So do you have any questions for like the instructional side of things?
Do you feel like you could, and you can only speak to this in terms of the instructional side of things, I know, but do you feel any push for this from teachers? Do we have any sense of how teachers are feeling about this, and especially in terms of how it's going to make changes for how they deliver instruction?
Yeah, I haven't had any push come my way. I don't know if maybe CTA would have something different to say about that. I'm not sure.
Erin, I can tell you that when they saw, I've had 6 reach out to me when they saw the 4-day go on for the 23-24 school year and asked why it could not be next year. And of those 6, 4 of them asked if they could help Laura to get the pacing guides changed, so it could be next year.
I know we've got some people who are very much in favor of it, but what
Right,
about
I
the
don't know.
large?
That's all I've gotten just based on what they saw off the agenda.
So 6 so far.
I see you doing some nodding over there, so I'm going to ask you to say something here in just a moment.
So I don't know if anybody else that has anything else to add to that, but that's what I can kind of speak to as far as that side of things.
Yeah, so is it okay? Can CTA go ahead? and
Oh, yeah.
weigh in?
I'm ready for you, ma'am, if you'd like to speak.
Was that shorter than my report?
May I say something?
That was, I'm tremendously surprised you didn't have
Brian,
more.
Jack would like to speak.
Yes, sir.
I'm just new to this board, as you well know tonight, but I have several comments. First one is, if you do it gradually with 2 days this year and a half a day next year,
1 day this year, but.
1 day next year, 2 days the next year, think of what that's doing to your children. They need a set pattern, so to me, I'd do it all at once. I have talked to several young mothers around the town just in doing business. I got my oil changed today, and I asked the girl that I paid, do you have children in the Marshall School District? And she said, yes, 2. I said, what do you think about the 4-day week? She said, I'm all for it. And to me, in listening to your teachers, don't sell those teachers short. They're a bunch of smart, talented, good teachers. They can figure it out. To me, I just do it.
It's not quite that
rest my
easy,
case.
but I wish it were that easy.
Ms. Johnson.
CTA actually started looking at 4-day week at the beginning of this school year. That's kind of what we have looked at. We've got information on other schools that are doing it, and then I had those building reps go back and talk, because we thought about doing a survey, and I'm like, surveys don't get answered. They just don't. And so I just had those building reps go back and just talk to their building people and just kind of get an idea. Yes, people were in favor, or no, they weren't. In all of the buildings that they went around and talked to those teachers and everything, it was on the positive side. Yes, we would love to see 4-day weeks. Some of them were, whatever the board says, that's what we'll do. But there wasn't a lot of no that came back. But then there were things like the Career Center. We want to make sure that the Career Center and those teachers, that it all kind of meshes together. So that was where our holdup was, is making sure that if everybody else has a 4-day week, what does it look like for the Career Center? What does it look like for classified staff? Because we don't want them to lose hours. And then some of the teachers in my building that have worked in 4-day school weeks say those teachers have said nothing but positive things, that, your day is extended. If we start, now some of them start at 7:15, 7:30 and go till 3:45 or something like that. So you have those hours, that time that's built in. And some of those teachers were like, actually, we could meet with kids, smaller group settings, and like for math, if they were lacking in a certain concept, there was that extra time during the day that they could build in actual time to meet with those different groups and, really hone in on the areas that they may be missing.
Why can you do the job differently in 4 days that you could do in 5? Just curious.
Say that again, Brian.
Why could you meet with students differently in 4 days than you meet with students in 5?
The periods are longer.
You would have a little bit longer time. I mean, like our reading block now is like an hour and a half, and so by the time you get each of those groups in, and you're just, trying to get everybody going, you can't really hone in on those kids that are really low and be able to build up their skills that they're really lacking in to be able to get them to the next step.
So you feel by having longer class periods, it would allow you to have longer concentrated times?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
especially on the elementary side where it's
Okay.
not hours and bell to bell or whatever,
Okay.
you know, it's just different elementary versus middle school and high school. But like I said, the people that I have talked to say that it works well. Kids are well rested because it's 4 days, so they have that other day, you know, to be able to do schoolwork or whatever at home or, you know, and then they know that activities still go on that 5th day or whatever, you know, that could be something that goes on.
Well, and
But
the study
it's just-
showed-
And then they said that when it
Yeah.
comes to map testing, to the standard, kids seemed more relaxed when it come time to do that testing. They seemed more well-prepared. And those are just, like I said, those are comments that I know that have come back to me from people that have been in school or 4-day school weeks.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, yeah.
I mean, I haven't really heard anything negative from where CTA has come back to me and reported what their buildings are saying.
Okay. Let me, okay, thank
Karen,
you.
one of the things that I will say, as far as school documentation that's reported at this time, they're seeing an uptick in performance for 3 years. And then they're seeing a level off come the 4th year. So in our meeting when we were with Matt and I were there at the middle school, that was one thing that kind of gave us some excitement, was we definitely need to see an uptick.
Oh, hey, pull your mic closer to you. There you go.
We definitely need to see an uptick. So therefore, that gave us some excitement with the 4-day school week.
Let me, not to cut you off, I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
But here's my hesitance, and I, thank you.
Are
My
we done
questions.
with her? Can we-
Yeah,
If
that's
you'd
what
like
I'm
to
trying to
say,
say, is like,
thank
feel free to. So I've always been, I think, Mindy, you and I talked about this once, that I've always been sort of a sort of light supporter of a 4-day week. The first time I heard about the concept years ago, I thought, that's nuts. And the more I thought about it as a teacher, I like the idea of having students for longer times. You get to do a little bit more, you get to dig in a little bit more. Here's my concern with, say, voting in the affirmative to approve this tonight. I do not know what this implementation system looks like for our district. I do not know how our community really feels about it. Right now, we're only getting input from a handful of people. I think we can get input from more people. And let me tie this to the last point I've got. The last thing you want to do to the Marshall community is force something on them. They love that, they really do. It's a great time. And I would hate for a really good and worthwhile idea to be dismissed because we didn't do the work of going out and seeing how they really feel about it. So I understand it's probably a bit of a chicken and an egg thing because you want to go ahead and say, this is the change we're headed toward, or hey, can we try this out?
Well, our work will transition. The work
Right.
of this group will transition. That's the issue. So when Matt and I were talking about it, you know, initially, Matt and I were talking, we're like, let's just throw next year out there and see what everybody says. But then we wanted to talk to Laura, and the admins got together and shared some concerns, and so then we said, we want to listen to that and give them time to prepare for it.
So what if I moved to table, like pending getting more information from your working group about what this implementation looks like in a concrete way for our district?
Yeah,
Would
'cause
that be a
We
reasonable
would have
request?
time for 23.
I would request that to start after July.
I would
Oh,
just like to say that the latest research, and this comes from Stanford and from Education Week, I just got it today. Ellen is right that the performance of students does stay stagnant, or it does increase the first 3 years. 4th year it plateaus. By the 7th year, there's discernible decreases in achievement of 4-day school weeks and 5-day school weeks. And
That's not on.
it's
on the
very,
documentation I've seen.
it's very significant. Now, research
what was that on?
there's one from Stanford, there's one from Education Week. Research will tell you over and over again one thing, and another research project will tell you another. But what I'm saying is, we need to look at research.
Yeah, that's true.
Because this has to do with children.
Yeah.
I too did some research on this. Oddly, some of our sites still seem to be the same, but there is a dramatic difference of what it shows. As you said, there is a uptick possibly in the beginning, but after you hit the third year, it seems that there is a level and a considerable drop. It talks about after 3 years after the switch, student growth in the 4-day districts began to fall short compared with that similarly situated in 5-day districts. The findings grow more pronounced with time and slow down in the achievement. It was very much more dramatic in math than in reading. It talks about the standard deviations, some other things. I agree with Dr. Meyer looking at this and saying, I'm not married either way. I think that we need to make the best decision for our students first, because that's why we're educating. Our adults second, and our community. And we don't have, I believe, all those facts to be able to make those. I'm also concerned, and I know Brian has kind of waved at me a little bit back there. I'm sure that this has different implications at the Career Center, which are things that would have to be worked through, talked about, and other things. So I'm not necessarily going to, if you'd like to say something, I'll give you a moment to do that. But I also have done a little research on this, and I'm a little worried that we haven't given our community the talk. As Aaron said, and as we have all learned up here, that if we do not make sure our community is behind something, then they will do nothing but push it against us. And so we need to make sure that, you know, in our district, with the poverty levels the way that they are, children that aren't getting seen now 3 days a week. We talked a lot about COVID. The teachers talked a lot to us and the counselors about not having those kids in seat, not seeing those faces, and how bad things seem to have gotten during that time. And if we turn around and we make this decision for even a couple of years down the road, are we looking at doing something very similar and possibly doing a disservice where we want to do a service? I think that some of the retention aspects may or may not help. I'm sure with CTA, 4-day work weeks may sound a lot better. You know, 4-day work weeks sound good where I am. I want one of them too. You know, I'm not saying that. I'd love to have 3 days off, but I'd love to make sure our decisions are based on the people that we're supporting. And that's making sure that we're turning out good quality product, good quality students, and students that are able to go and succeed within our society. And that we actually are looking at our parents and our community members and making sure that we're not putting a hardship on people. Daycare is not an easy one for us in this area. Our parents are working parents in this community, and having an extra day of figuring out childcare that's not a weekend day may be something different. We might have 20 teachers that open up a daycare because there's a need for a little bit of extra money on that extra day. But, you know, just looking at those things, I don't think this is an out the window thing, as Aaron said. I think we need to table it and have a little bit more discussion, in my opinion. But Mr. Wilcoxon, I will give you a chance to speak if you'd like to. I saw you moving around quite a bit back there before we get to any kind of movement. And I'm going to ask you to come on up while you're smiling at me, because that way everybody can hear you. So
As
go
he's
ahead, Mr.
coming
Pettit.
in, I'd like to ask, Mr. Pettit, I saw at one point in time your district was considering a 4 days.
They are there.
Are you on a 4-day?
4-day.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right.
Yes, sir.
And before,
I was
Brian,
just
I'm
gonna
sorry, but before you speak, I did ask the administrators to come, so I'd like, Mr. President, if you could recognize Mindy Coslet also after Brian.
She waved at me, and so I was
Great.
going to
Thank you.
afterwards. So.
So I'm just here not to shortchange anybody or any of our staff. Like Mr. Lentz said, our staff can do what needs to be done to get stuff done. Dr. Meyer, Brian, you guys kind of stole my thunder. That was my concern, is engaging our community big time. What it does at the Career Center, we can make work. I mean, it's a sit down, it's a think it out, it's a talk it through. Whether we're for it or against it, I think that's a greater conversation that we need to have with our community and everyone in our community that needs to be involved and wants to be involved, and then have a plan of action going forward on, hey, let's make a decision by this time. Let's work to that decision point and have everything worked out before we make the decision. That would be what I would ask, is that we have the opportunity to do that. So thank you. But
Thank you. We got you on the hot seat now, so. What kind of an impact would it have on sending districts and our nursing program?
That was my word.
So I have had discussion with our sending school districts. Their administrators have indicated, of course, they will do whatever they need to do to get their kids where they need to be. Now, personal decisions aside, students still get to make a decision of whether they want to make that trip on that fifth day, if we're going a fifth day, or not make the trip on a day where, if we're going 4 days. So supportive administration to do what needs to be done for kids and what they want to do, but overall, personal choice.
And on the nursing program, it shouldn't make any difference because it's a standalone program. Those students don't go back and forth to the high school.
No
So
problem.
Is Sweet Springs a sending school to us?
Sweet Springs is a
Yes.
sending school,
So-
and they just went to Monday,
They went to a 4-day, so
4-day with a Monday
their
out.
students now have to decide if they want to come for that 5th day, whether
And
we go
again,
4 or 5
they-
or not.
Right.
So that's
Administrators-
that's a double-edged sword.
It
And,
is.
and you're going to see that next year because even regardless of what we decide tonight, tomorrow, next month, whatever we do, then those students are already going to be in that situation where they're going to have to decide
They're
if
gonna
I'm going to
make
come
that
a fifth
choice.
day
Yep.
to be able to take this program or that program that we offer here. So,
The other double-edged sword is community involvement, because in the last 2.5 years, we have sent surveys out. And then we have disregarded what those surveys have said.
Correct.
Well, I
So
think this
you're-
has to go
you're-
beyond a
you're
survey.
going- Well,
Yeah, I mean, it has to go into some other more kind of involved, having actual conversations with folks, doing the same kinds of
Sure.
open forums that
And-
we've been
and-
doing.
and
Which,
those
Aaron,
invitations
that's why we
have
had
been
that
out
open
there.
invitation and that open session.
And it's a great
we had
start.
54 people that wanted to
Yeah.
be there. We didn't have one person that said no, I don't want to be a part of this now. Well, I did. I had one person say, somebody put my name on this and I don't want to be on this list.
Well, and I've asked people on the street, so what do you think about this? And they say, think about what? And then the one person who reached out to me individually to opine on the 4-day week said, I am stressed out about what this is going to do for my daycare, or, for childcare, what I'm going to do on that day. And I don't know how to I don't know what to do about that. And I know that there are ways to mitigate that. So, there are things you can do to help support the community with that. But the fact that that this parent, had that question, said to me, we got a lot of work to do to get the word out, if this is the thing that we want to do.
So the point in putting this on the agenda for 23-24 is not to say, and maybe that's how it reads, but it's to give the administration an opportunity to bring us a 4-day. So if Caleb gets here and he wants to pursue the 4-day with his team, then that gives them an opportunity to do that. And so when I called Brian, that's exactly what I said. We need to put the 4-day on so they can bring us a calendar if they choose. So I've had extensive conversation with Mr. Pettit. I've had extensive conversation with, I've spent hours and hours and hours on this. So instead of me continuing to spend hours and hours and hours on this, if we gave them an opportunity and said, we are willing for you to bring us a 4-day school week, if you choose, then that's what this enables them to do. Not if.
Yeah,
me sitting here and doing the work of the superintendent is not my goal. I'm sorry.
And that's why I was like, hey,
so
can we get a plan?
when we heard from Laura, and then
we
I
have to
talked to Mr. Pettit and Dr. Henson, we wanted to give them an opportunity to continue this work if they chose to do so. I'm not going to keep doing this work, and I think that there are some things that need to happen once he gets here and he can lead his team, and I think we're at that point and that juncture.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that clarifies a lot.
yes, ma'am.
So go for it.
It's kind of all, is it on? No, it's not on. You turned it off, Brian.
Anyway, Brian.
Thank you for turning off the mic, sir.
What I was going to say has been said, which is why I put my hand down, and what you said kind of changes the conversation a little bit. It's because I was taking this, like I think everybody else might have, that we were going to vote tonight, or you all were going to vote tonight and say, okay, 2023, 24, we're having a 4-day week, now figure it out. Right? And to me, that kind of put me in a little bit of a panic, and like, we have a lot of work to do, and it's like, can we do the work and then say, okay, is this going to work? Because what if we find the answers to some of those questions, and this doesn't work for Marshall?
So we started this prior to hiring a new superintendent.
Right.
After our conversations, after my conversation with Laura, after my conversation with Grace, it's not going it's not comfortable to do this for next year.
Yes.
Thus, you're going to have a new leader that can do this work, and I don't have to.
Right.
So that was Dr. Henson and I's discussion, to bring it this way so that the work could continue, and I don't have to do it.
I guess the clarification that, I don't want to speak for all of my admin team, but I know that what I would like, the clarification I would have is like, okay, if we start this work, what if the answer we arrive at is a 4-day week doesn't work for Marshall?
Okay. It
You're
doesn't
okay
work.
with that? Okay, because
I don't
that's.
have a dog in
okay.
this fight. I don't have a kid in the district after a month from tomorrow.
Right.
So
Okay,
it's
well, because
okay.
that's a different
I don't
conversation,
care.
right? I think
Yeah.
we're all saying the same thing, that this is something we need to look at, we need to plan, because this is something that would change the way we do everything we do. So like, we need to make sure we've thought all of that out. So if
And
it's
there's
just
some
a.
argument that that's not true, right?
Right. Well-
So I appreciate that. I think a teacher works hard on
Yeah.
a Wednesday. I don't think there's a lot of work that gets done on a Wednesday. Some buildings, maybe there are, but the last 6 years at the high school, there's not a lot of work that gets done on a Wednesday. So for 6 years, those high school kids have really been a 4-day. Some teachers do a great job at it. The teachers are busy. They got
Right.
30 minutes and then they're gone, and then they have bus duty, and then they're flying around on a Wednesday. It's a lost day. And so there have been lots of arguments to that also, right?
Right.
I don't care either way.
Okay.
This is just an opportunity for us to work, and instead of me to sit here and work and do all these things
Or-
in my volunteer job, when you guys and your new leader can do that, I think this is the right time to do that.
Okay, so this
That's
is
my point.
basically just a blessing to continue
Right.
looking at it? And this
Correct.
is not a decision saying this is what you will do 2023, 24?
That was not my intention
Okay.
with that, no.
Do you have a-
So I guess I misunderstood whenever we had a phone call, because what I took it as to vote on a 4-day work
I
week,
did
which was
too.
our conversation.
All we gotta
And
do
so
is
if
just-
I
all we
misconstrued
gotta do
that,
is just
then-
draw a line through
So all
approve.
we're looking at right now, so there's no action item,
say
because
we
it
can
sounds
actually take
like
no action.
we
No.
actually
Yeah.
want to just be, continue to explore, and the discussion is starting. And so we may want to look at putting a group together, because it sounds like what we need to do is to appoint a board committee to look at this, or to look more forward with this, and then come back with a recommendation to the board at some point in a future time. So because there is an action item here and it is attached to something, then I am going to say
Well,
that,
we had a motion to table and a second.
Yeah.
yes.
So I'll call
And
the
so I'm
question.
coming back to that. All right, at this point. So, so with the motion will be to table. If that does pass, then I would like to discuss how we're going to look at maybe as organizing the council and how we move that. Yes,
Harry
Aaron
second?
and Harry second that motion, yes. So the motion is to table the idea of voting for a definite calendar change within the change of the 23-24 school year. All those in favor of tabling that discussion as a definite calendar change, please say so by aye.
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 Are there any opposed to that or abstaining to that? So what we also need to do, because the board does,
Abstain.
Matt abstained from that? Mr. Lenz, were you for that?
He went aye.
Okay, so moving past that then, I think that we need to ask for some volunteers that want to be involved in this committee. I believe it sounds like you've already started this work, or do you have that?
We have a 54-page, or 54-member list.
Okay.
And so, my opinion at this point
Oh,
I've
is
got-
to wait until this.
is to wait until the new administration is on campus, and they can take over and do the work of the population that they're leading.
Okay.
All
right.
I think that's the best way to
So
do
we've,
this.
so
we're not
we've
stepping
tabled
on
and
leaders.
moved, and we have a 50-person group of which we will be
I
contacting
will
people
email them
back
to you.
out, and then we will be moving along with some decisions later down the road on how this will look like. So, moving along to the point that most everyone is waiting for this evening, we're going to be looking at teacher salary schedule. If everyone remembers, so very long ago, Dr. Mayer outlined that for us. What we had for us were 3 different category raises, which were 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000, which went to roughly 2.78%, 5.2% at 39,000, and 7.4 at 40,000. We are looking at this as teachers, admins, classified, and then the extra duty. So schedules. Each
Spread,
one
we're
of those
gonna-
being a different action item. So we are ready for a motion or further discussion. Must have laid that out too well. Or not well enough. So, I am looking at a middle-of-the-road approach with this. I think that we do need to increase and become competitive. I do not know what the governor is going to do on a ceiling or a base salary. I think that we have always talked about, and we are very supportive of making sure we are as competitive as can be, that we respect our teachers the best that we can, whether that's with insurance or with salary, whatever those things may be. So I believe that the health of our district, from what I've understood, the numbers that I've looked at, the optimistic approach that we have for the future, and looking at a $2,000 salary bump to move us to a $39,000 base salary is what I would recommend, and I will start with that motion.
So I have a question. If we do that approach, can we do that with the understanding that the board will agree to have an extensive financial audit immediately to evaluate our budget come June 31? And if we show that we are better behind, whatever, then we can revisit this to add on to that base at that time?
You can always add on to your base. I talked with Mr. Pettit earlier, and we're going to be introducing him in a couple of minutes. And I
should have done
told
that
him
at
that
6.
we probably should have started with that, but it takes a little bit of that surprise. We've got
Don't
these
hold
big
back on.
ticket items here at the end of the evening,
Agreed.
so, please stay tuned. We've got
That's what I
great
call
stuff
on.
coming. But we did talk about that. I believe that everyone, when we sat through interviews, Mr. Lynn, you of course weren't there at that time, but, talking to the things of looking at a financial audit and an audit of looking at that to see where we are healthy-wise as a district is something that he is still wanting to do and that I believe that we would support. So I think that we can turn around and see where we are sustainably. Adding the 2,000 was somewhere around 885,000, I thought, an increase to the bottom line with our prospective insurance proposal and looking at kind of other salary schedules as they fell into that.
I have a question, Mr. President, that's probably going to mess everything up, but that seems to be the way that night is. Why are teacher salaries, classified salaries, admin salaries, and extra duty pay all linked in with the base of the certified?
That's the way they're built now.
Huh?
That is the way they are built now.
That's the way they're built now.
So if you want to do something else, do one of the options we talked about.
Yeah, they weren't
So-
built that way when I used to negotiate from a teacher, but that's in the dinosaur age.
So as these 4 next lines, this one and the next 3 lines, we can vote to do differing things within each one of those based on motions or acceptance. Basically, we're looking at a 5% raise, it looks like, on the teacher salary from where we are at 37 up to the 39. And if there is more money in the well, then I would
sure like to-
wholeheartedly behind
I would
Ms.
like to
Lance
get to
looking
the
and
40
seeing what
base
we can
if we
do the best
possible.
for our
That's all.
teachers, but sustainably keep it the best for our teachers and not take away from other programs or other issues, because those things are always going to do nothing but increase as well. So-
Harry, did you make a motion for 40?
No, well, the 39 was, did you make a motion for 39?
I made a motion for 39,
So,
yes,
I
I
will-
did during the speech.
So we'd be waiting on a second on that.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. We still have some other discussion. I see an arm up over here. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm not jumping ahead to GH and I on purpose, but it is in parentheses based on adopted teacher schedules. So if we adopt this as it's written on the agenda, as it's written in what you provided, does that carry over to GH and I automatically with no discussion?
It shouldn't, I wouldn't think, the way- especially,
I mean, I do have a, well, I can't.
What I was trying to say was that the numbers you saw here are all based on the teacher's salary.
Gotcha.
So if you choose one of the options that has all those packages in it, then that's based on the teacher's
Yeah,
salary.
if you take a flat and moved it across a 5% flat.
We don't have
across
to do it
everything,
that way,
then you would
though.
end up with those numbers.
We can
you
do
were
it.
showing.
No, I
Right,
understand
right,
that. I just,
correct.
The motion and then.
But we, just because we adopted one at that rate, doesn't mean we have to adopt them all at that same rate.
no, because all if your motion reads the way I think it should, we're only talking teacher base now at 39.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And that has been moved and seconded.
I like the, just to finish up, this is the only thing I have to add. I like the proviso of, let's make sure to have the audit, and if there's room to bump it up, then by all means we should.
So I feel that way in kind of listening to ourselves talk about the strategic plan and having a date with something. It seems as though we have a habit of getting things covered and paying for things for a minute with intentions, good intentions to go forward and have an audit. But I would say this date, they're in here, I mean, we get them on the hook, and they're here on this date, and they're out on this date, and we decide at that meeting, like,
Surely
be
we
quick
would-
about it and not linger till November, you know what I'm saying?
So we could say to
Like-
be decided in July, at the July meeting, which is also a fiscal meeting.
You also are going to have to look at hiring that service too.
That's
So
my
I'm not,
point.
I'm not trying. All right.
Call the question.
So all those in favor of adding a $2,000 base to our salary to make us at 39,000, please say aye.
Clarification, are we just going teachers on this?
We are just on teacher salary. We are just on F. Yes, sir.
Aye. I think we got them.
I'm going to go Matt.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ellen? That's not a vote.
I'm not ready.
Mr. Lance? Mr. Carroll?
No.
Back to Ms. Lance.
It's already passed, so.
Right? No.
Okay. That would be 4-2, that passes.
That's for the teachers.
So now we will be moving on to admin salary schedule.
What
which
about
we-
classified? You skip.
I did not skip.
No, that's Jean.
We're gonna go to admin
Jean.
first. Admin's on the agenda first.
Not on mine.
I realize that we're tired and probably getting a little bit worn of discussion, but we've got 3 more things to make it through, so please hang with me.
If we can't do the math, we can't do anything.
Mine's classified.
So,
Mine's classified.
admin salary schedule. So are we going to look at something different? I have a feeling that, Matt, was there something you wanted to say about this?
Well, I just, so my issue is with, I've never seen an admin salary schedule.
Me either.
So I don't know what I would be adding, you know, does that make sense, what I'm saying? Like, I've seen the teacher schedule, the classified schedule, but I've never seen an admin salary schedule. And nothing against the admin at all, but I would like to see something to know what's going where. And maybe, you know, an admin, I feel should be more merit-based. Performance, I don't know if that's the right word, but.
Actually, our admin salaries are not on a schedule because of that, because of education and
Sure.
spirit, all sorts of things.
Sure.
But
Amount of students, buildings,
I
size.
do have a list, and I think I sent you the list of the last 3 years of administrative salaries.
Yes.
And I can give those for you.
But my problem, I look at it, and I think Matt touched on it here. If we give a percentage raise to teachers who are making $40,000 a year, and the same percentage raise to administrators who are making 3 times that, they get a much disproportionate raise than the teachers are getting.
Well, that's why I suggested in that option that you make the administrators' raise not connected to the teachers. The
That's-
teachers get a 5% raise, the administrators get a 2.5% raise, or
That's-
something.
That's
like
how
that.
I'm leaning anyway, you know, so. That's why I wanted it separated.
Well, and that's why I
when we
asked
started
that
talking
question.
about it.
Correct.
The parentheses meant it was straight down the line.
I know,
so.
the percentages are crazy.
So, looking at the admin salary schedule, is there a motion at all?
My opinion would be if we can't do the 40 on our lowest paid people, then we need to table this, if nothing else, until we get an evaluation. So we know what we can move forward.
So there's a motion to table the admin salaries.
Okay.
If you want to table salaries until after the end of the fiscal year, when Mr. Pettit comes to work, if that's what you're saying, you can offer a contract with this year's salary in it, and then revise that contract. But but you have to, by May 15th, you have to give a contract with an amount.
And it can always go up.
It can always go up.
Right.
We're going to do the same for classified?
We will be moving down there. Well, currently, there is a motion that has to table with no second. And I will second that motion to table, pending on what we come back with a little bit of research for the admin team.
But the 39 for teachers is already carried.
That's already done.
We've already voted,
Okay.
yes,
All
sir.
right. All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Ah. So, moving down to classified salary schedule. I move that we use the same 5.2% or the like figure with the classified staff to keep the classified and the certified staff in the same line of raise.
I'll second that contingent upon what we find when we do whether we can go more.
Oh, so Harry's saying,
I like
If we raise to
find
7.4 for the teachers, and we would
raise
reciprocate
classified
that.
as well. Would you amend that?
I don't need to, because we will decide that, and we could just make another later motion to raise if we choose to, for both to be equal at that same time.
Okay, thank you.
So the motion is still to carry, or the motion is that we still make a like raise for the classified staff, which does not have a second currently.
no, it did, yeah, Harry seconded it.
Oh, did you second it? I'm sorry. Oh, you
That's
wanted me
why I
to
asked
change
you
it?
to amend.
Oh, okay. So it has been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion on this point?
Call question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving down to the extra duty salary schedule.
Didn't we already do that?
Nope, that's the,
This is point I.
Yeah, that's part-time, okay. Now, is this the coaches and sponsors and things like that?
Yes.
Yes.
I move we tie that back in with the salary schedule of the 39 that we passed earlier.
So you're moving to do the 5.2 for this
Yes,
grouping
sir.
as well. Is there a second of that?
Second.
I'll second it.
Matt seconded that, and so did Mr. Lenz. Just a moment. It seems like there's some clarification from Mr. Callahan, who does with this. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So that's not really how it's set up.
yeah.
I did not think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
Please.
It is a flat rate as it is set up now, correct?
no,
It's not?
no.
Well, I see flat rate numbers when I look at it.
I'm gonna pull it up.
This is absolutely
It's
crazy.
based
Yep,
on,
we can't get real
Hold on,
information.
hold on.
It's based on
Get
what?
up here so I can-
Oh, yeah, but it's a flat number.
That's all right.
I withdraw my second.
Oh, my.
Okay, sorry. I want to speak on the extra duty. So the way it's tied right now is to the base salary, okay? But it's a percentage. So each category, so category 1 is 18%. If you're in category 1, you get 18% of the base salary, okay? So if you're in category 2, you get 16.5%. So basically, if you raise the base salary to 39,000, now this new
It's gonna
would
be a
be
raise.
Then you're already raising it.
16, exactly.
Gotcha.
So it's already tied to it. Does that make sense?
so
So
I'm
for
seeing
you to
those
say
numbers
that you're
as
going to add 5%, you'd be,
So you're
you'd be
adding-
awesome, but that's not fiscally responsible.
So you're adding 10% to a coach, is what that would come
Exactly. I
down
mean,
to.
I would
or
be
a
excited,
sponsor,
my
or-
coaches would be super excited, our sponsors would be super excited.
I'm coming to coach.
But I want you guys to understand what you're actually trying to do.
I appreciate the clarification, Mr.
All we gotta
Callahan.
do is table everything and
So-
do this thing.
So I is a moot point.
So, well,
You could raise it if you wanted, but
say that it's just tied to the teacher's salary, so it continues those percentages. If we want to come back and change those percentages later, that's a different thing, right? But we're not proposing to change percentages,
How'd it get so convoluted?
so, and
because we used to be paid horribly.
thank you for the clarification, because what
It's the truth.
I was looking
We
at
weren't
were
competitive.
straight numbers when I looked at that on the salary schedule of like those assignments. And so I did not realize they were actually already based upon the base salary as far as the categories went out, because I didn't have a category scale, I had a payment amount.
So to answer your question, Harry, back
You've already given a.
when I coached,
raise to
you know, I got paid $2,100,
11 cents an hour, right?
right? You know, year 1 and year 10, it was the same paycheck,
Yeah.
right? So we've changed that, so there's steps as well, right? So they're getting paid for the years of service and all those
I'm a
things.
dinosaur.
So,
Wait,
Thank you.
Wait, Mr. Pell.
Oh, yeah.
So is there a reason that we saw it this way? In other words, was there a specific proposal coming forward that you were?
not from the
Sounds great.
extracurricular part of it.
All right, so we've already given, by moving the base up, we've already given them the percentage increase.
Yes.
Correct.
And that's about a 5.4 across everyone.
It is, right? So
Yeah.
that's already the 5.4.
It's
Yeah.
already in.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan, for explaining that for us.
It's connected to
Currently,
the
there is a motion on the floor to raise it more at that time, which does not have a second currently at this point. So if
No, it
no
did.
one seconds that,
did.
then it will, did it have a second?
Yeah, I hate
I'd
to
like to
say it,
withdraw my second. though.
but it really did.
And I withdrew my motion.
Okay, well, the motion's been withdrawn, so now.
I don't know. Sorry, Linda.
I make a motion that we have no action upon this item based
Thank
on the
you.
fact that it was covered within another salary range.
You know, I'm taking an admin
Apologize for the
class at
clarification issues that we
MBA
have
now, and it's
tonight.
crazy.
And I still need a second for that.
Wait, for no action?
Yes.
Okay.
All those in favor of taking no action?
Aye.
Please say aye.
I move that we,
So before we actually move to closed session, I would like to invite Mr. Pettit up. That is going to be our new superintendent of the district.
If you- if
And
he
let you
doesn't
smile at
run
the camera
back
if
to-
you'd like to say anything for a moment, sir. We will give you a moment at the podium where you can have this because I'm done with it for the night.
At least you stayed for the whole meeting, so.
I got a long ride home.
I was told we got something to eat.
This is a pretty quick meeting. I thought I'd just give you a 20 or 30-minute quick speech here. I just want to say thanks for being here tonight. Nice to meet and see a lot of faces. I have not learned all the names I've heard tonight, but I'm excited to be here and work with all of you. And I think a good board, a good previous administration that's leaving, and a good future for Marshall. I hope to be a part of what's ahead of us and work with all of you because it's going to take everybody together to be successful. That's always how it's been. It's how it'll be in the future. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for keeping it short and sweet. Let that be a precedence for us moving forward. So now I will entertain a motion for us to leave from open session at this time.
Motion to adjourn to closed session pursuant to 610.021, Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, and Section 13.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. What, can I get a second? Matt, would you